What's up, Wizards? Dev from the place. If you're watching on YouTube, you could be watching live on twitch.tv/SBMTG Dev. We're live. That's the thing with being live, is sometimes you screw up. We're doing a Hobbit speed run tonight, and I'm pretty sure it's going to go Zoom. We might be able to break our PB tonight once we get things started, ladies and gentlemen. This is a set with a bunch of like one-word mechanics in it, right? So that's going to help me out. There's no double-faced garbage. It's a small set, so I'm hoping for like a 225. 2 hour 25, something like that. Well, maybe we'll do it. First of all, as always, explaining the score system extremely briefly, increasingly briefly each time. We score cards from 1 to 10. 3.5 is what I call a kind of normal-ish, like a cancel, right? Like a normal-ish Magic card. That's kind of, you're not going to play it. You're almost never going to play this. It's not that great. A 5, that could be playable depending on the deck. It could, a 5, that's all right. And then once you get into like 6.5, 7, 7.5, these are good Magic cards. You get past an 8, you're going crazy on it. So that is the basic, quickest explanation of the scoring system I can give to all of you. And now we'll start. Why don't we start? Hit the timer. An Unexpected Party is 4 mana, 2 double white for an enchantment. When it enters, you can choose a creature type. Then all your guys of that type get +2/+2. But this also has an adventure called At the Door. You pay 3 and X for a sorcery. Create X 2/2 red dwarf creature tokens. I don't think this is good enough for standard dwarves if that's a real deck. I think we want to get the mana cost on that, or the mana value on average of that deck down. The curve, that's the word. Anyway, we want to get the curve on that deck down. I'm not sure that this is quite where we want to be, but willing to be wrong. That said, pretty interesting commander text. You don't just have to be in a dwarf deck to get this to work out for whatever you're doing. So I kind of think it's neat. I'm just going to start the night off with a 5. I think this is right about where we'd put a 5 nowadays. Belladonna Took is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/2 legendary halfling citizen. Whenever a token you control enters, you gain 1 life. If it's the first time this has happened this turn, if it's the second time it's happened, you gain a life and you draw a card. If it's the third time, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature that you control. So kind of neat. Actually, you don't gain a life on the second time. Yeah, it's just 1 life and then draw a card and then a +1/+1 counter on all of your guys. Okay, so nonetheless, even though you don't get to do extra stuff every time the ability resolves, I still think this is fantastic in a lot of like white-based tokens decks in Commander specifically. I think there's a way to utilize this in Standard, but again, I don't think it's quite there based on a lot of the stuff that we're doing. We're doing Caretaker's Talent decks about a year and a half ago, and this may have fit right in, but even then, I'm not sure that it would have been quite what that deck is trying to do. You know what I mean? So, just not really sure where this goes in Standard either. But as far as Commander goes, I think it's a really, really strong card that goes in just about anything making tokens, which is a ton of stuff. So, let's go ahead and stamp a 6.4 on Belladonna Took. I really like this card, but let's look at one of the best cards in the set. This is Bilbo's Gambit right here. 2 mana, 1 and a white for an instant. Gift a treasure. Return target spell to its owner's hand. That happens no matter what. But if you promise the treasure, players cannot cast spells this turn. So just keep in mind that this can just be reprieve, right? It can just be remand, basically, without ever having to gift a treasure. But gifting a treasure makes it really interesting because you're like Orum's Chanting. There's a few cards that make it to where no one else can cast spells this turn. And that is really powerful because in a lot of cases, it's going to stay in the turn against a fair number of opponents, and that's great, whether we're talking about EDH, competitive EDH, or Standard, Pioneer, Modern, right? I think that this could actually be a real card, even though like some of those formats like Modern have access to Reprieve already in this color. I think you can make an argument that shutting the rest of the turn down is probably better than Reprieve in a lot of ways. So we're looking at very likely one of the better cards in the whole set. If you've never seen a Remand effect and it doesn't look that powerful to you, it is incredibly powerful. I can assure you, it's incredibly powerful. Now, my one problem with this in Standard is I'm not sure where it goes. We have a Jeskai control deck that looks like it could play something like this, but I think it has access to better counter spells, all things considered. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But, being able to put a Jeskai Revelation back in their hand, right, against the Revelation decks. This seems like an interesting call, right? So we'll have to really wait and see where this shakes out in Standard, but the entire time it's in Standard, it will be an option to play. So I think it's a really, really strong card in competitive environments and also, EDH and whatnot. I think it's great there. So what do we give a card like this? Let's go 8. Let's go solid 8 on Bilbo's Gambit here. Magic is a game of turns, as they say. It was one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten. Magic is a game of turns, and this is basically a time walk. This kind of denies a player, especially an important end game turn for the most part. You know, they're 4, 5, 6 mana play, and that is great. Just this is almost time walk, and that is wonderful. So I'll give this at least an 8. You know, I've seen like an 8.4 in chat and stuff. White better than counter magic, yeah. It's really interesting. Like, you know, there's, for instance, gigantic big bear, a big thing in this set, right? That can't be countered. It's a spell that can't be countered. Those are typically really good, but these effects can counter spells that can't be countered, and that also tends to be worth its weight in gold. So it's a wonderful card. It truly is. Next is Boffer, Reliable Guardian. This is a single white mana for a 1/1 legendary dwarf scout with lifelink, but it also has Concerted Care, a 2-mana instant speed adventure. Target artifact or creature you control gains hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. Fine card. Fine. You know, I've already talked about how this might be decent in like the life gain decks in Standard. That has a lot of important creatures to protect. Make sure they stay in place. You know, the angel guy for 4 mana that draws cards when you gain life. He's great. Halia, obviously, and stuff like that. Even like Hinterland Sanctifier, just your little like gain of life when a dude comes into play. Totally want to protect those dudes. And this protects artifacts for what it's worth. And, you know, it might be worth something. You at least got to point that out. So a little bit more expensive than you want to protect a guy's spell to cost, but still, you know, when it comes on a 1/1 lifelink, I'll take that. It's not bad. It's good enough for a 5.3. That's where I'll put this. Definitely north of 5 on Boffer. Celebrate the Mountain King is 4 mana, 3 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until this leaves the battlefield. When this thing enters, recruit. So, it's kind of fine. It's one of these, like, what is the card I'm thinking of? Heart in Commander. There's like 5 cards, actually, that effectively do this. They Oblivion Ring something for each opponent. And those tend to be all right. And also kind of like Recruit. Recruit's not a bad ability. I think it's better than it looks. So I'm going to give this like a 4.5. Somewhere in there. You know, you'll almost play this. You'll almost play this in Commander. Dain, Lord of the Iron Hills, is 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/2 legendary dwarf noble with vigilance and storied. As long as you are storied, creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 1 for each of those creatures. Kind of a half of a propaganda style effect. Not sure that this sees too much play in Standard. We'll have to see. I don't think so, honestly. But again, as far as Commander goes, I kind of like this in any sort of White Prison style deck. Bit narrow, but you know, you tend to see like Ghostly Prison and even Sphere of Safety in a lot of white decks because there's a ton of white enchantments that go well with, you know, Sphere of Safety. If I'm going to play like 10 enchantments in my deck anyway, no matter what, I might as well have Sphere of Safety. It counts all the enchantments I have, whatever. But there's a lot of White Prison effects that people play, and this is just the next in a long line, but it's really cheap. It's really, really cheap to have this out, so I don't know, man. I think that I like it, but I still don't think it's like incredibly powerful. I'm going to give this a 4.9. I think it's like almost there. Very close to almost there. What's up, Blunderland Guide? Good to have you. We got Dwarven Provisioner up next, a very normal magic card. 2 mana for 2/2 Dwarf Citizen. 4 mana, creatures you control get +1/+1 till EOT. That's like a 2.4. It's not good. Dwarven Short Sword is 4 mana for an equipment that equips for 2, but when it enters, you get a 2/2 red dwarf creature token and attach this equipment to it. The equipped creature gets +1/+2. So, again, very normal kind of magic card. You need this for limited dwarf equipment shenanigans. That's probably the only place you'll really play this. I'll give this a 2.5. Eagle of the Great Shelf is 5 mana for a 2/5 Boyd Soldier with flying. When it attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other creature you control. So you have to have 3 other dudes to make it a 5 mana 5/5 flyer, but I think this is deceptively good and limited. I will give this a 3.6. Just a little bit more than a 3.5. Escaroth Garrison is 5 mana, 4 and a white for a star 5 human soldier. Its power is equal to the number of guys you have. When this creature enters, recruit. So it gives you a guy, theoretically. That's cute. But as much as I like creatures with this first line of text, I don't think it's that great. I like that it's common, and you're like limited recruit deck that makes a bunch of tokens, and it could be like a 6/5 or whatever. But even then, you know, 5 mana 6/5 with no keywords, to a lot of this. So I'm just going to give this like a 2.8. 9. Feely the well, I'll go 3. I'll give it a solid 3. Feely the Pathfinder is 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 2/2 legendary dwarf scout with storied. As long as you are storied, creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever Feely or another non-token dwarf you control enters, you get a 2/2 red dwarf creature token. Okay, that's fine. You play it in Dwarf Commander. Do you play it in Dwarf Standard? Again, I think this is slightly slow for Dwarves in Standard. You want to keep that curve. Nailed it that time, around like 2 or 3. Maybe it was just like beginning of the speedrun jitters, you know? Just I don't have any terminology. Where's my glossary? You know what I mean? But in any case, I do think this is a fun-looking card that I want to play in Commander. In like the Dwarves deck. I tend to love like token factories like this, but for 4 mana on a 2/2, nah, whatever. You have to enable it beyond that. So I'll just give this like a 4.85. Kind of keep it moving. It's okay, dude. Gleaming Splendor, on the other hand. This gets a lot of commander points. This is 2 mana, 1 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you get a treasure token. Pay 2 and a white to have 2 players draw a card. So, cute. It's always you and someone else drawing the card, I assume. But you don't have to make anybody draw cards in order to get a bunch of treasures off of this. A ton of people are drawing cards like crazy in Commander. So I don't think this is good for Standard. I think it's really slow there. You probably don't want to skip your second turn, even though, you know, there are ways that this can get you some treasures. For sure. People draw cards in Standard. Against Izzet, people play Ops and stuff. But even in Izzet, it's like flow state. Just, does that draw cards? It might. I know, the new Ancestral Recall thing that people play in Lessons, that draws 3, so that's pretty good. Opt, that draws cards, sure. Sleight of Hand doesn't draw cards. Chart what is it? Not Chart of Course. Consult the Star Charts. That doesn't draw cards. Stock Up, that doesn't draw cards. So I think a lot of the card advantage people are using just doesn't draw cards. So how good is this in Standard, even if you do stick it, right? But in Commander, this is the next in it's becoming a super long line of like enchantments in white that you just kind of like have to play if you're playing white. And I think you kind of do. I think this does net you a ton of treasures. So I'm going to give this an 8.5. I'm so sorry, but that's all Commander. That we tend to kind of, you know, just jam it all in a box and give it a unified score. And Commander is basically doing all the heavy lifting with that score, but I do think the card is that good in Commander. I mean, we're talking about like a Smothering Tithe, Trouble in Pairs level enchantment that I think you just kind of have to play in your white Commander decks. Like, sorry, man. It's not Tithe, thank the gods for that. I actually think part of the point of this card is it is a less annoying version of Smothering Tithe, right? It's not a do you pay the 2. It's not a do you pay the card. People really hate do you pay the cards. And with this one, it's not like you don't have to ask anybody any questions. Just like, oh, you drew your second card, I get a treasure, thanks. You know, it's not. You don't have to ask people constantly. Ristic Study, Smothering Tithe. Do you do the thing? And I think it's a lot less annoying at the end of the day, and that's good. Iron Hills Blacksmith up next. 2 mana for a 1/1 Dwarf Artificer with double strike. When it enters, you get a colorless equipment artifact token named Axe. With equipped creature gets +1/+0 and equip 2. So it doesn't equip the axe to anything in and of itself, but still kind of a strictly better fencing ace. I tend to like those. 3.7. Keely the Resourceful is 2 mana for a 1/2 legendary dwarf scout with storied. As long as you have story, you may pay 0 rather than pay the equip cost of the first thing you equip each turn. And whenever another dwarf or equipment you control enters, draw a card once a turn. So excellent in equipment decks and dwarfs decks for sure. It goes as a 2-drop in a lot of those. Especially in Commander, man. You draw 1 card a turn. If you can flash equipments in, by the way, somehow, then you draw cards that way too. And that's just gross. that really ups the card draw potential on this if you flash equipments in. But apart from that, free equip cost once a turn is also great for just a couple of mana. If there is a Dwarven Equipments deck in Standard, I keep bringing it up because, you know, we're in white. So I'm gonna hit a few good dwarves, I guess. Which is all I'm looking for. A few good dwarves. As far as that deck goes, this is the first card that we're hitting that I think, like, goes. Right? Like, this is a 2-drop. Like, almost certainly. I don't love the stat line. 2 mana, 1/2. That is not impressive, right? But hopefully you can supplement it with equipments and whatnot. Draw cards. So probably goes in as a 3 of in that deck. So I will give this a 5.7. Right? Again, all equipment decks till the end of time probably want this card. It's very, very good. But in that way, it's narrow. Lake Town Lookout is a single white mana for a 1/1 human scout. When it dies, recruit. That's the whole card. It is fantastic, and I love it. I will give this a 4.8. Seriously, 4.8. This is a really good version of this effect. You know, there's a 1 mana guy. When he dies, do a thing. I really think recruit is a fantastic mechanic. I get a card deeper into my library. Draw a card is just great. You know, I get a chance at a body too. And I get to pitch a card, which there's like 1,000 reasons I want to do that, right? I might reanimate it. I might have a monument out or something. I might be playing lessons or just whatever, dude. Like there's a lot of graveyard stuff going on. Like, this could be fantastic. Seriously. I love this guy. I give him a 4.8. I want to go higher, but can't do it. You know what I mean? Can't do it. So next we'll move on to Lake Town Toymaker. 4 mana, 3 and a white for a 3/4 human artificer. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've drawn 2 or more cards this turn, another target creature you control gets +3/+0 against first strike. Till end of turn, better than it looks at your pre-release. I bet this is better than it looks, right? Just play some recruit cards in your deck, draw a couple of cards, play some card draw effects or whatever, and suddenly +3/+0 in first strike every turn on whatever you want. That's pretty good and limited. I really think it is. I'm going to give this a 3.65. Magnificent End is 5 mana for an instant that costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped guy who deals 5 damage to target guy. So, regular old removal. Give it a 3. Moment of Glory is a single white mana for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. If this spell was cast from a yard, also put a +1/+1 counter on all your other dudes too. You flash it back for 5 mana. Again, fine card, 3.5. Ori, Keeper of Songs, is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 3/3 legendary dwarf bard with storied. As long as you have that story, Ori gets +1/+0 and has vigilance. So a 3 mana, 4 power vigilant guy. Not impressive. That's why he's common. So let's move on to the next 2 cards, which are much better cards. Ori, I will give a 2.4 to. Well, no, let's go higher. He's a 3 mana, 3/3. Let's go 2.9. Roads Go Ever Ever On. 2 mana for a Saga. Chapter 1. Search your library for 2 basic planes. Exile them, shuffle, gain 2 life. Chapters 2 and 3. Put a card exiled with the Saga into its owner's hand. Chapter 4. Whenever you attack this turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0, +1/+1 until end of turn for each planes you control. I do not think, first of all, that the 4th chapter on this is to be taken lightly. I think, especially if this isn't played on curve, I mean, assuming that it is played on curve, that's still a fair number of planes, right? That's still like +3/+3 or whatever it is. Well, +4/+4, something like that. That's not bad. But if you play this later in the game, right, this could be like +6/+6, like +7/+7, like pretty easily in mono white. That is a real power boost. That's not bad, man. If you guys remember, what is it, Michiko's Reign of Truth? You guys remember that card from the last Kamigawa set? It did something similar, like a creature gets +1/+1 when you attack for each artifact and enchantment you control. And it was great. It was great. Yeah, Birth of Melodus 2.0 in a way, yeah, because of this first couple of abilities. I actually think this is a pretty strong card. I do. I tend to like these cheap white cards that put planes in your hand, secure your next couple of land drops in this case. This can push your land count down a good bit. I like that. It's an enchantment in case your deck cares about that. Cool. It's a Saga if your deck cares about that. Cool. You know, there's a lot of things I'm really into about this, and I think it might have a small chance in Standard, especially at some point in its life cycle. I'm not sure if right now is the time for it, but you know, we've got Starfield Shepherd in Standard. That might be the better card. It is currently played in Momo, so maybe this just doesn't find its place, but this is a strong card in my opinion. I'm going to give it a 5.6. Settle the Wreckage is 4 mana. You know what this card does. Instant, exile all attacking creatures target player controls. That player may search your library for that many basics, put them on the battlefield tap, shuffle up. Oh my god, it ramps my opponent. It's terrible. Whatever, dude. Opponents for the next 3 years now will have to worry about swinging into untapped mana more than they ever have. I mean, you always worry about swinging into untapped mana, but you're like, my opponent might remove one guy, whatever. But your opponent can sweep your team at instant speed and then almost immediately untap with counter magic up or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, an instant speed sweeper is hard. It goes very hard. If you've never experienced Settle the Wreckage Standard, then get ready for Trial by Fire. This is probably the best Standard card in the entire set, reprint or not, right? And the one that will affect things for years to come, more than just about any other card in the set. So, what do we give a card like Settle the Wreckage? We give it an 8. we give this an 8. One of the, for exactly the level of Standard, and Pioneer for that matter, for exactly the level of those formats, this is one of the best sweepers you could ever hope to have access to as a control mage. So, crazy stuff, baby. A format changing, format warping, really, really, really crazy stuff. Really crazy stuff. Stolen by Sunlight is 2 mana. For an instant, choose 1, destroy a creature with power 4 or greater, or until end of turn, a creature becomes an artifact in addition to its other types and gains indestructible. So there's a few effects like this, Valorous Stance and stuff come to mind. And these are typically decent cards. I'm going to give this a 3.9 and not really expect too much from it, but it's not bad. The Eagles Are Coming is 2 mana, 1 and a white for an instant with Kicker for 4 mana, 2 and double white. Choose target creature you own. If this spell was kicked, instead choose any number of creatures you own. Return each chosen creature to your hand at the beginning of your next upkeep. The next upkeep. Create a 4/4 white bird soldier creature token with flying for each creature returned to your hand this way. So imagine this as kind of a finish in like Pixie decks, for instance, even if all you're doing is returning Pixie to your hand in response to a removal spell or something, right? Well, you get your Nurturing Pixie back, you get to pick your Momentum Breaker back up, and you get a 4/4 flyer. That's twice as big as the Pixie was, and you get to swing in with the Pixie in a couple of turns again too. Just pretty decent. But if you kick this and it takes Pixie and 2 Sunburl Kirans back to your hand, then I'm pretty sure you won the game. You put 12 flying power on the table, you get all your tricks back. Opponent scoops, right? So just in Pixie specifically, probably good. And there's kind of a white-blue blink deck right now in Standard that might want access to a piece a little bit like this. So I don't know. I think it's kind of good. I think it's a very unique kind of save your team effect. Save your team effects are especially good in Commander, but this isn't Heroic Intervention or Dawn's Truce. I think Dawn's Truce is probably the closer because it's white, right? The closer comparison. It's not those cards. 6 mana is an awful lot to save your team, but I still think it's neat. And more than neat, I think it could actually be really good if you position it well in a game of 1v1. So I'm going to give this a 5 and leave it there, right? But with the reminder that 5 does not mean bad. The Mountain King's Return is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a saga. On Chapter 1, you recruit. Chapter 2, return target creature card, mana value 3 or less from your yard to the battlefield. On Chapter 3, put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. Decent value on this saga. You can always discard something you want to reanimate on the next turn, so no harm, no foul that you pitched it. But ultimately, I don't think that this is really where we want to be in Standard, cost-wise, a little bit slow, blah, blah, blah. So I hate to be that guy. As neat as this card looks, I think a delayed, turn 4 reanimator spell is probably not, the best thing in the world. So I'm going to give this a 4. Is that high enough, right? Is that high enough to show that I do respect the card some degree, but I don't really expect too much from it. I respect it, but I don't expect it. The Queen of Dale is up next. Oh my god, what a magic card. 2 mana, 1 and a white for a 2/1 legendary human noble. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, you recruit, kids, so great once it's on the table. Seriously. This is another one of those cards that I think could be good in 1v1s, but also crazy in Commander. This is unbelievable. This recruits several times per turn per turn cycle. Almost every time. Right? At least an average of 2 and a quarter, recruits every turn cycle is absolutely bananas in Commander. So really high score for that format. But again, I think if this is your 2-drop on the play in Standard, you're at least recruiting once when they cast their removal spell. Is that good enough? I don't know, but at least there's that. And obviously, if you can cast this on 3 mana, your opponent goes to remove it, you protect it, okay, you get to recruit, and if they want to remove it, you get to recruit again. I think once you get to the second recruit off of this in Standard, then you're going a little nutty, right? You're going a little nutty there. So I think that this card has a chance, but we'll have to wait and see. It might be just the thing against the Izzet decks that have a lot of non-creature options, even if they're not zapping Queen of Dale. Their whole game plan is opt, sleight of hand, opt, flow state, right? So they'll definitely give you a recruit at least, once that turn, right? And maybe even one on your turn, for that matter. So this could be good against certain decks in Standard, but it could be terrible against Badgermole Cub and Landfall and whatever, right? So it has its place. Maybe in boards. I could see it in boards, but that might be asking too much. Either way, I have to stop being a coward and rate the card eventually. I think that this is probably like a 7.9. Seriously, man. Is Recruit better than Connive? I think it is. Yeah, I think that Recruit is actually many times better than Connive. I think that a dude is so much better than a +1/+1 counter in most situations. So I really actually kind of want to score this higher just because of Commander, but I'm going to go 7.9 for now. I'll leave it at that. Thorin's Last Stand is 4 mana, 2 double white for an instant. Choose one of these. Guys you control get +2/+1 till end of turn. Or destroy target artifact or enchantment and gain 2 life. Not the best disenchant effects ever, but I'll sometimes take this instant speed buff in my limited deck. So I'll give this a 3.5. Velvet Wing Butterflies is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 2/2 insect with flying. It's Windrake. But it also has Gaze and Wonder. 2 mana for an instant speed adventure. Tap 1 or 2 target creatures. Not a bad little tempo play there. I really don't think it's horrible. I don't, but not standard playable. I will give this a 3.7. Next is Vow to Erebor. 2 mana, 1 and a white for an instant. Untap a creature you control. It gets +2/+2 till end of turn. If it's a dwarf, you can attach an equipment you control to it. That's actually kind of sexy, but I don't think it quite makes the decks, if dwarf decks are in standard, which I'm not sure they will be, but still, if dwarven equipment decks are a thing in standard, I don't think it quite makes the grade, but you will blow people out of the door. They will blow out of their seat and through the shop window onto the street in front of the people taking their smoke break between rounds. That will happen if you cast this at the right time at pre-release. So keep that in mind. I will give this a 3.4. We are in blue, so I get to take a drink break. Drink break! Devin get to take a drink break. What you got tonight? Got me some coffee from the gas station. It's s'mores flavored. Did you know they made some s'mores flavored coffee at the Circle K? Not sponsored, but it's good. I like sugary crap, because I don't like real coffee. I like sugary crap. Also got some Tahitian treat. Speaking of sugary crap. Damn, Tahitian treat. You good as hell. All right. Tahitian treat is good as hell. Seriously, I wish I was sponsored. Tahitian treat. Everybody send this off to Tahitian treat. Sponsor your boy. Send me cases of Tahitian treat. In every stream, I'll be like, you guys know about Tahitian treat? It's delicious. Anyway, Bebo Bagoogan's Burglar is up next. This is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/1 legendary halfling rogue. When he enters, draw a card. Hey. Also has Take a Glance. A single blue mana for a sorcery speed adventure with Scry 2. Chat. Rate the card. Give me a rate. I should have made you rate the card and then took the drink break. That should have been the play. I misplayed. Anyway, yeah, chat. Bebo Bagoogan's Burglar. What's the score on this man? You got a score for him? You gonna put him up on the board? Common Bilbo. Pauper playable Bilbo in the house. What's the Dillio with the Bilbio? I said Bilbo, YouTube, not any other words. All right, we got some scores. We got 3.5 in limited, 6 out of 10 in constructed, 1. All cards that are constructed playable are 1s. Hi all the time, Monkey 420. That's my actual real life cousin Jason. 4.0, all limited. Lava Being with a 3.9. It's okay. 3 something for standard limited playable. 4.4 from Kringle Bob. PCRV with a 4.2. Vith with a 4. Sounds about right. Lily Vaughn, 3.69. Nice. Extreme Rex, 4. Glance is good. Yeah, Glance is a fine card. Glance is a fine card. I kind of like him. I'm going to give him a 4.4. I liked 4. Who said that? Who got it? Kringle Bob. Nailed it right on the head. I think a 4.4 is about right, especially considering the Pauper playability. He's blinkable. He's bounceable in a way that you actually kind of want to bounce him so you can take a glance again. It's not bad. I don't love that Take a Glance is sorcery speed. If Take a Glance was instant speed, we'd be having a heated discussion at this point, but it's sorcery speed, so it's not as good. But still, I am a fan. I'm a bit of a fan. Optimator, thank you for your, oh my God, 72 months. That is 6 years. 6-year anniversary. Optimator, everybody. Everybody, I'm going to give up my personal best here. Score ever. My best time so I can say, Optimator, happy birthday to you, my friend. 72 months? 6 years is great. We've been doing this for 6 years? It's impossible. Bilbo Luckwearer is 3 mana for a 1/1 legendary halfling rogue that cannot be blocked. And whenever he deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, discard a card. He also has Burglar's Plot for 5 mana. It's a sorcery. Exchange control of 2 target non-land permanents that share a card type. I like this Bilbo too. I like this Bilbo too. He's not standard playable either, but I tend to like unblockable guys. And I especially like when they have a combat damage trigger, because that just synergizes with itself, bro. And, you know, maybe you'll play Burglar's Plot every now and again. I think it's cool. I will give it a 3.9. I think it's cool. Bilbo Thief in the Night, on the other hand, is 2 mana for a 2/2 legendary halfling rogue. Spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 1 less to cast. Whenever Bilbo attacks, you may cast an artifact, instant, or sorcery spell from your yard. If an instant or sorcery spell was cast this way, it would be put into your yard. Exile it instead. So that's cute. That the first thing is that you can get an artifact back and play it, and then somehow sacrifice that artifact, and then just get it back again next turn. That's cute that you can loop the same artifacts. You can't do it with instants and sorcerers. A neat card. Right now in Standard, there are several ways to cast spells from somewhere other than our hand. We have a few different mechanics that cast spells from exile, right? This fights Aven Interrupter, I guess. But, you know, there's like Warp in Standard, so this ramps into like Quantum Riddler. I guess that's cute. But there's a bunch of other stuff this quote-unquote ramps into. The aforementioned Starfield, Shepherd, and whatnot. All Warp cards are a little better with this. But Flashback, obviously, too. Flashback is pretty phenomenal with this card. And I like that he triggers on attack, not like combat damage. So at least you get to recast one thing with him. And maybe you just recast a removal spell to clear the way so that he can attack again next turn, right? And stuff like that. There's a lot of good lines with this card. And it could go directly into like, is it? You know, a deck that plays a lot of cheap instants and sorceries anyway. Right, so kind of a cool card here, man, and yeah, it might be one of the hits of the set. Could be. This is crazy good. It's stupid. I hate it. 7. Yeah, it looks like a good card. Now, I think this set is slam full of cards that are better than they look when you read them the first time. In practice, they play better than they read. This card, I think, plays slightly worse than it reads, but is still quite good. All right. I do still think this is a pretty phenomenal card, but we'll wait and see if it's a 3 of or a 1 of in certain decks, or if it even finds a foothold anywhere. So I have my doubts in Standard and beyond about this card, but I do think that it is positioned well in Standard right now to go into decks, right? And it works so well with mechanics people are playing anyway, that I think we might have something here. So I'm going to give Bilbo a 7. Right out of 7, you know? Yeah, it works with the adventure mechanic. Yeah, I hadn't brought that up yet. There's a lot of adventures in the set and just in Standard in general. This works with all of those. Also works with the prepare mechanic, right? If you're casting prepared spells on creatures, this works with those. So, again, a lot of stuff this works with. And we're going to start at a 7 and see if he can work his way up to an 8 over the course of Standard. Because he might. But Confusticate and Bebother these dwarves is 3 mana, 2 and a blue. For an instant, choose 1, counter a spell unless its controller pays 4, or draw 2, discard a card. So, as I've said before, this is a bit like You Find the Villain's Lair from the Dungeons & Dragons set. I really like that card, but didn't really see much Standard play. I don't think effectively making it easier to cast, but harder to counter late game spells is going to make it a playable Standard card, but I do like this effect. I'm going to give this a 3.65. Elrond Moonreader is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 3/3 legendary elf noble. Whenever you activate an ability of a creature, draw a card. This ability triggers once a turn. 7 mana, 2 of it blue, to exile up to 2 other target non-land permanents you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Now, you can play this ability at instant speed, which I find fascinating. Late in the game, this could be a game-ending ability, right? If you have the 7 mana. Kind of neat in Commander, especially for blink decks and stuff like that. But that said, if you're just playing like elves and you're tapping creatures down for mana abilities or something, drawing a card once a turn is also kind of phenomenal. This thing has jumped in price a little bit the last maybe 4 days. You know, there was a time when I looked at it, I feel like it was close to $10, and now it's more than that for the last couple of days. So I think people are catching on that, even especially in Commander, I think this looks pretty decent. And people are probably playing it in the Thranduil deck and the Marlin, is that her name? The Marlin deck. So this is probably going into stuff. Just a pretty phenomenal looking card for that format, but I think it's slightly too slow for standard. That said, on curve, this could draw you a card the turn it comes into play, or maybe you play it on 2, and then it draws you a card every subsequent turn when you tap your Lana War Elves or whatever it is, right? Or an Earthbent Land. You draw a card when you tap that. Like, there's cool stuff about this card in standard, but I do think it's slightly expensive. So I'm going to say that this is like a 6.4, and that is mostly on the strength of the first ability in Commander. But again, I think that the second ability is great in Commander too. I really do, but I also respect the fact that the second ability is an instant speed ability. Once you have the mana for it, that can end a game of 1v1 like real quick. So just keep it in mind. Elven King's Harper is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 2/2 elf bard. 5 mana to have a creature go unblocked this turn. Limited Stalebreaker. I like that this is uncommon. It ain't too bad. What was Bilbo's Gambit's official rating? I think it was like an 8.2, I want to say. 8.1, 8.2. Harper, on the other hand, again, I think this is a decent limited stalemate breaker, but that's about where it ends. I'm going to give this card a 3.6. Elven Raft Steerer is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 3/2 elf pilot with landfall. Whenever you landfall, either tap down one of your opponent's dudes or untap one of your guys. Retreat to Coral Helm, vibes, 3 mana for untap one of your dudes. Can do combo stuff in Commander, has done combo stuff in competitive environments before. Retreat to Coral Helm has. But I also kind of like the tempo mode on this, in like green-blue landfall or something. Instead of having to like engineer trample on a guy and make his power huge, whether it's Mossborn Hydra or you're doing it like Mightform Harmonizer or whatever, you don't have to have any of those pieces. You just like tap down all of your opponent's guys and swing away, You can also use this defensively on your opponent's turn, right? Like play a fetch land on your turn, don't crack it. Wait till they go to declare attackers, crack your lands, tap down their guys. And now, not only do you not have to get hit in the face by them that turn, but you get a free swing at them because their dudes are tapped down on your turn. So that's actually pretty good with fetch lands. Not a bad card, man. I'm going to give this a 4.7. No, I'm going to give this a 4.9. Right up under a 5. This ability has been good in the past, and I could see it being good again. And just redundancy with Coral Helm is fine in Commander. Enchanted River's Grasp is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for an aura that enchants a creature. When this aura enters, tap enchanted creature, remove all counters from it. Enchanted creature loses all abilities, does not untap during its controller's untap step. Pretty bad for 3 mana. I'm going to give this a 3. It's still removal. 2.9 actually. Fateful Discovery, 5 mana, 2 of it blue for an enchantment. Whenever an artifact you control enters, draw yourself a card. Does not say non-token. That is wacky. that is kooky that it does not say non-token on it anywhere. Better than Vedalken Archmage or like any other effect like it before that in Commander. Way too expensive for standard unless there's some kind of ridiculous combo available to us. And even then, it's 5 mana, But in Commander, this is a stupid card that goes in a lot of blue decks just that have like Psi or Thopter Spy Network or like anything that makes, tokens. There's a million of them. You got Talrand in your blue deck? Yes. Well, no, I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Just any artifact tokens. Again, Psi, Thopter Spy Network, those do work. And a lot of other ones for that matter. But yeah, this is a wonderful card. I'm going to give this... I'm going to give this a 7.75. I want to go higher than that, but, it's 5 mana. Gandalf, Wandering Wizard, is 5 mana, 4 and a blue for a 4/5 legendary avatar wizard with Ward 3. Pay 6 mana to shuffle it into the library there and draw 3 cards. Whatever. Sure. Play it in pre-release, I guess. It's a 5 mana 4/5 with a Ward ability. That's okay. Can draw you 3? Sure. But outside of there, I'm going to give this a 3.4. Sorry, Gandalf. The Great Gilded Boat is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 4/4 vehicle. Whenever you attack, recruit, and it crews for 2. Really, really badly, so badly, want this to be Crew 1. I feel like the whole world would change if this was Crew 1. And Crew 2 is different. But all that said, I do kind of like this. I do. There are, however, I should probably throw in a however there. There are a fair number of equipments in Ether Drift. That's a set in standard right now, if you remember. The ancient Ether Drift set everyone loved so much. It was actually just me. There are a bunch of vehicles in that set that do stuff whenever you attack. They don't have to attack. They just do a thing when you attack. There were at least 2 or 3 vehicles like that in that set. They don't see play. I kind of liked all of them when they came out. Whenever you attack Recruit, kind of gives me those same vibes. But Recruit is a pretty good ability. It is. Once a turn, do this. Almost assuredly. It's not bad. But the problem is that it's not assuredly, right? Like, you're not going to attack every turn. You can't guarantee that. And again, I think Crew 1 would make a massive difference on this card, which is huge. But as it is, I'm going to give the Great Gilded Boat a 4.75. Sorry. I want this card to be pretty good, but I liked Ether Drift. You and me, Lily. You and me liked Ether Drift. I'm glad somebody else did. Lakeshore Apothecary up next. This is 2 mana. She has, I don't know if Jason will agree. This is actually Jason's sister. She has Bex vibes. She looks like Rebecca to me. You know, not necessarily how she looks, but how she looks, right? She has the vibe of Rebecca. This is 2, y'all don't know this person. Only Jason knows this person. This is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 1/2 human cleric with vigilance. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So neat. I like these draw a second card every turn creatures, but this one's obviously not that strong. 3.5. Lake Town Mariners is 6 mana for a 6/5 human citizen with vigilance and ward 2. But it's also got Gone Fishing for 4 mana. It's an instant speed adventure. Exile 2 target creatures and or lands you control. Return them to the battlefield under their owner's control. So it's not ramp, but it can untap a couple of your lands if you wanted to. And with certain lands, that is ramp, right? Cute, I guess. And obviously, Blink Your Dudes is fine. You know, you get them back immediately. I like that too. And in the meantime, it's a 6 mana, 6 power vigilance ward 2 in like limited. Sure, you know, I think this is kind of really good there. But in standard, I think all the modes are probably a little bit too expensive. I'm just going to give this a 4.2, and I mean it. I think this is not terrible. Long Lake Nuisance is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for a 3/1 bird with flying when it enters Recruit. Normal magic card, 3.5. Master's Counselors is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for a 1/3 human advisor with vigilance. This creature gets +2/+0 for each graveyard with 7 or more cards in it. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, target player mills 3 cards. What an interesting guy. What an interesting little guy this dude is. I'm still just going to give him a 3.9. I don't think he's good. I'm pretty sure he's not good, but you're probably supposed to mill yourself with him. If you mill yourself with him, he probably gets a little bit better. And this might be an example of how a 3.9 can be a playable card in the right deck. You know, remember that Commander decks are also, you know, in the pile here. I also mean Commander. And milling yourself, I don't know, milling yourself in this way could be somewhat productive, but I'll go 4. He'll break the 4 barrier. He could be okay. Mirkwood Meditator. Think about Stitcher's Supplier. And then get back to me on this card. He could be all right. Mirkwood Meditator is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 2/4 elf druid with landfall. Whenever you landfall, this guy's base power can be 4/2 till end of turn. Boring, 2.8. Most decrepit old, 2.6. Most decrepit old bird is a single blue mana for a 1/1 bird with flying. It has threshold. This guy gets +1/+1 as long as you have threshold. It also has Speak Secrets. That's 2 mana for a sorcery. Mill 4. Then put an instant or sorcery from among them into your hand. Chat, look live. Give me a rating on the most decrepit of all old birds. This is the most decrepit of them all. I need you to rate it. I want to know, what does the world think of this card? Or at least the world through my tiny window. Chat, hit me with the bird rating. What do you think about the big boy? Are you rating it? Are you going to rate this bird for me? Some of you have. Is this a storm crow? Not quite, actually. It needs to be a 2 mana 1/2. All right, we got a 4.2, a 2.4, a 4.5, a 6, a 4.1 after 10ing. Like 10 JK 4.1, 4.8, 5. Could be something Delver vibe, 6, 5 maybe higher in Reanimator decks. 3.5, meh. 3.5, wow. 4.8, 5. Not even close to the almighty Stormcrow, yeah. I want to love him. Yeah, me too. Putrid Imp at home. Ooh, that's a neat way to look at it. A 4.8. I kind of like that. Putrid Imp at home. 9 for Stormcrow meme. Thank you. I agree. Yeah, maybe I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know if Jason was around for Stormcrow memes. I don't know if half of y'all were, but anyway. Stormcrow is just a 2-mana 1/2 flyer from Alliances that showed up in a bunch of standard sideboards because you had to play a certain number of cards from every set, and like there were certain flyers. It's a whole thing. That's why people played Mesa Falcon from Homelands in their sideboards. It was a thing. So Stormcrow, the joke was that people would be like, "Hey, why is Stormcrow in this tournament-winning list in the sideboard as a 3 of?" And the answer you're supposed to provide is that it's because Stormcrow's awesome. Like, don't you understand how good Stormcrow is? It's amazing. Like, I believe a lot of people are actually led to believe Stormcrow's a good Magic card. It isn't. In any case, this, on the other hand, I think is a decent Magic card. I think it's pretty good. 1-mana 2/2 flyer is not like that impressive, right? But Speak Secrets is really interesting, right? This can be picked up with a Boomerang Basics in Standard so that you can Speak Secrets multiple times in a game. You know, imagine a game where you Speak Secrets, play the bird, Boomerang Basics, draw the card off Basics, Speak Secrets again, get a cool card off that. That seems like a good line to me. So just that one line makes me think the bird's okay. A 2/2 flyer isn't the best threat in the world, but milling 4 is good in the Lessons deck or any other deck that's trying to get cards in its yard. It might be a suitable 2-mana play for decks that don't get Deceit in their opening hand, but they still want a Spider-Man to Deceit on turn 4, you know what I mean? Don't have it by turn 2, just Speak Secrets, try to get a removal spell and put the Deceit in your yard, sure. So there's a few applications for the card in Standard, and I am going to give this a 5.5, and I'm 1,000% serious. I'm really surprised that I saw a lot of like really low-ish scores for this. I don't know that it's Standard playable day one, but I do think there are tricks in Standard that make it, really intriguing to play the Speak Secrets mode. A lot of decks want cards in their yard. A lot of decks have instants and sorceries to choose from here. A lot of decks would not mind a 1-mana threat, especially once Storm Chaser's Talent rotates out. I think this might be kind of interesting, right? There's a lot of reasons I like this, and Boomerang Basics is probably the number one reason, but I like this card. But I don't like it enough to give it like a 6. You know what I mean? I'll give it a 5.5. Next is Old Fat Spider Can't See Me. 3 mana for a Saga on Chapter 1. Target creature you control gains hexproof for as long as this thing is on the battlefield. Chapter 2, prevent all damage that would be dealt by up to 1 target creature for as long as this thing remains on the battlefield. And on Chapters 3 and 4, you draw a card. So 3 mana to draw 2 cards. And fog a creature. And hexproof a guy forever. For 3 turns at the very least. Still not good, though. I still don't think it's like really that good. Yeah, world's slowest divination. Yeah, exactly. I do like that it's an enchantment, though. You might get some value off of that for one reason or another. Just a neatly designed card, but not one that I think is particularly powerful. 3.7. Plunder the Trollshaws, on the other hand, could be deceptively good. 2 mana for an instant, draw a card. If you cast this from a yard, draw 2 instead. You can flash it back for 4 mana. One thing I haven't said about this card in reviewing it the multiple times I brought it up in previous season, it was in my sleepers list, is there are ways of casting this from your graveyard that aren't just flashing it back. Right? There are effects that allow you to just cast cards from your yard. So that's cute. If you can cast this from your yard for 2 mana because of some sort of Yawgmoth's Will effect, then drawing 2 for 2 mana at instant speed, that's great. But either way, I'm going to compare this to Deep Analysis for the 1,000th time, or Think Twice for the 1,000th time. Those are the cards that jump to mind. But this is probably closer to a card like Radical Idea. I'm letting you take a second to search your brain for that one. What is Radical Idea? Well, I believe, if I remember correctly, Radical Idea was 2 mana for instant speed, draw a card, Jumpstart. You remember the Jumpstart mechanic? I'm pretty sure you discard a card or discard a land or something to replay a card with Jumpstart once from your graveyard. And that card is not as good. I play it in budget commander decks, but no one remembers Radical Idea at all. You know what I mean? This is better than the old bird? Maybe. Honestly, this is ultimately the argument with Plunder the Trollshaws. I think the best argument for the card is that this is one card. This is one card from your hand that draws 3 cards. That's pretty good card advantage, right? So ultimately, I think that's pretty good, right? Just a pure card advantage way. So I'm actually going to give this card a 5 and kind of see where it goes from there. Ravenhill Flock is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for a 1/2 Boyd with flying. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Quant Sky Mage with a 1 toughness upgrade. I like guys like this, but they're just fine. 3.7. Riddles in the Dark, 3 mana for an instant. Look at the top 4 of your library. Separate them into a face down and a face up pile. An opponent chooses one of those piles. That pile goes into your hand. The other one goes into your graveyard. It doesn't shuffle back in. It goes in your yard, which is typically a mistake because basically, you see, you just have access to both piles. This is in a lot of ways a 3 mana instant speed draw for, and that's disgusting. I really like this card, guys, a lot. I'm going to give Riddles in the Dark a 6.5. I'm just going to let you know the score right first and foremost. This is not fact or fiction, but it is like, it's 3 mana, you know? This is 3 mana. It's just 3 mana at instant speed. The other cards go in your yard. You still have access to them in various ways. Just a stupid card. I think that this card will play outrageously well. I really do. Yeah, Gifts Unspoken. I like it. I like that. Because, yeah, it is kind of like a Gifts Ungiven in some ways, too. Just, I think this is phenomenal. I will make no apologies for that. 6.5 is where this card starts. I actually think it goes up from there. I think this could be like a 7.5. I think this is a really, really good card like no one's talking about. Roll also fits that same bill. I think this is a fine card no one's talking about. 3 mana for a saga. On all 4 chapters, you exile a creature or land you control. If you do, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So, again, you can kind of ramp with this like a little bit if that's what you want to do. Kind of like that. But this is just like Teleportation Circle for a mana cheaper. And if you get to Teleportation Circle once a turn for 4 turns in a row, that you probably win the game. How many turns does Teleportation Circle have to be out to win the game? You know? Is my point. Not 4, you know, like 2.5. You probably win off of Teleportation Circle. So I don't know, man. I kind of like this card more than I should. And I am going to give it a 5.2. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that some people, you're good with burglar rats. That's really funny. It's just like any guy. You have one guy with a blinkable ability, and this gets like kind of crazy. It's not bad. You can never attack with the guy. You know what I mean? I'll say that much. For all 4 turns, you don't get to attack with your guy. But I still kind of like it. This is blink value 4 turns in a row. What's wrong with that? Seriously, it's a good card. Sound the Trumpets is 3 mana, 1 and double blue for an instant counter target spell. If that spell's mana value was 2 or less, recruit. So the cancel of the set. That might get you a body. Counter spell, get a body? Let's kind of go. 3.8 though. It's cancel what's upside. If cancel's a 3.5, that's a 3.8. The Lord of the Eagles is 9 mana, kind of, for an 8/8 legendary bird noble with flash. He costs X less to cast, where X is the total power of creatures you control with flying. And he has flying, so it sucks that he's legendary. I guess if you already had a copy of him, then extra copies of him only cost 2. That's not bad. Still, it shouldn't be too hard to get this guy on an early turn. This guy could be really good, actually. But even if you get him to play early, he's still like just a big flyer. How good is that? You know what really, though, in current standard, how good is an 8/8 flyer on 4? And I don't think you're getting him on turn 3. I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think you're getting him on turn 3. Unless maybe you go like Slick Shot. Wait a minute, is this doable? Slick Shot on turn 2. Turn 3, a 1 mana pump spell that gives the Slick Shot +3 power. So that would be 6. No, you can't do that. You can't. You still need 3 mana, and you've spent one of your 3 mana that turn. There's a way. There's a way to play this on 3, but again, I think reliably turn 4. Like pretty reliably turn 4 for this. And maybe it's fun, maybe it's cool, but I don't know. So I'm going to give this a 4.8. Sorry, again, sorry. Blue Safari, but just worse. Yeah, Safari actually like does stuff. This does not. But Thranduil's Decree. Fun story about this. Thranduil's Decree was on my sleepers list until I saw the word permanent on it. For maybe 3 whole days. This was on my sleepers list, and then I saw permanent. 6 mana, 4 double blue for an instant counter target spell. If a permanent spell was countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost for as long as it remains exiled. So before I realized this said permanent, I just thought you could just counter any spell and then do this thing with it. I thought, ooh, Jeskai mirrors, you counter their revelation and throw it back at them. Ooh, how about you? You throw their revelation back at them. But you can't, because it's a permanent spell specifically, so the card is doo-doo from a bud. It's just not, it's not as good. But, you know, if Draining Whelk was playable at 6 mana, counter target spell, whatever, like this could be, I don't know, it's not, though, not a very good card. I would give this a 3.5. That's a cancel. Uncover the Moon Letters is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may draw X cards. X being the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. If you do, discard 2 cards. If you thought you were going to get this one for cheap, sorry. Wow, it was more than that earlier today. It's $3.50. $3.50 isn't as cheap as I'd like it to be, but it's still pretty dang cheap, objectively. Man, this card was seriously like $8 earlier today. I just looked at this card. But yeah, in Commander, I think this is kind of fantastic. In a number of decks, especially the decks that want you to cast like expensive spells specifically, this is unbelievable. This card do some damage. But in other formats, I don't think it's that impressive. That said, I'll give it a 5.4. I think this is a really cool card draw engine in a lot of Commander decks. Seriously. Uneasy Partings is 4 mana, 3 and a blue for an instant that costs 1 less to cast if it targets an attacking non-token guy. Target creature's owner puts it on their choice of the top or bottom of their library. So a time ebb effect at instant speed here. Costs 3 mana, not a bad call, not a bad cost for a time ebb effect. But still, just limited speed, pseudo removal, rebluval, if you will. I'm going to give this a 3.0. Again, it's just normal old removal. Wizard Staff is the nuts. This is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for an equipment. Equip for 3 or equip wizard for 1. Equipped creature has prowess. If ability of equipped creature triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. That's crazy. Pretty Commander-oriented, though, I would assume. And as people have pointed out, and I neglected to point out when I first reviewed this card, you see, its prowess will double trigger as well, because an ability of the equipped creature triggered. So in case you missed that when reviewing the card, you actually get double prowess on the equipped creature, which is very cute. I like that. This can't equip anything, but you really want to equip wizards with it because it only costs 1, let's be honest. But you can't equip anything in the world with this. That said, this is one of the hypest Commander cards like in the whole set, right? Probably. Come on, dude. Yeah, a good win more card that won't do much. Yeah, in Standard, I really don't have a whole lot of faith in this. What guy in Standard do we want double triggers off of that we want to like basically skip a whole turn to like suit him up? I'm not too sure, but crazy blue Commander card. Crazy, dude. $15 till the end of time. You know what I mean? Just stupid card. And for that reason and that reason alone, I have to give this card a 7.1. And I honestly think it's better than that in Commander. Really freaking crazy card. But we'll move on to the black cards here. My favorite color. It is my favorite color in Magic. And I get to take another quick drink break. Let me know what you think I'm going to say along the crooked way is. What score am I going to give that? Who knows? Let's take a quick little sip of the potion. And hit the 3-wheel motion. Along the Crooked Way is 3 mana, 2 and a black for an enchantment. When it enters, return a creature card from your yard to your hand. Whenever a creature card leaves your yard, amass goblins 1. Pay 2 mana, goblins and orcs you control get menace until EOT. Fine card, man. Fine card. In Pixie decks and Standard, I think this could be worth a 2 of, maybe, at the most. But being able to get Pixie back, amass goblins 1, use the Pixie to pick it up, and now you have a situation where your opponent effectively can't ever kill your guys. If, as a matter of fact, they do kill your guys, they just increase your board presence even more because you get to amass. Right? That's pretty cute. I like this card a lot there, like a lot. I get my Pixie back, play my Pixie, pick up my Momentum Breaker, right? Whatever it is. That sounds great. So I'm going to give this, and I've seen people talk about it in Modern for that matter, as like kind of a turn 3 win condition in like a combo deck. People have called it win more there, but I'm actually kind of interested to see how it functions as like redundancy with an existing combo. But all that said, I think this is fine. And I guess if you want to play it in Commander, you can. It works really well with like Tortured Existence or Phyrexian Reclamation or Strands of Night or any, Oversold Cemetery. Like there's a lot of stuff that makes cards leave your graveyard. If you're playing, what is it? Desolate Crypt? I think it's called Desolate Crypt. Desolate Tomb. It's Desolate Tomb. Or the Skeleton Pirates that make a 2/2 whenever a creature leaves your yard. Or Insidious Roots. Insidious Roots and Standard is another deck that could want this in that format. Just a bunch of places for it, man. I think it's a fine card. I'm going to give this a 5.6. I think there's things for it to do. I really do. Azog, Moria's Ruin is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 1/3 legendary goblin soldier. When it enters, destroy up to one other target creature. Its controller masses goblins X, where X is that creature's power. If you control that creature, draw a card. Boo. I typically love these guys. Come down and blow a dude up. I don't usually like when they just get a guy anyway. I mean, obviously, if you're killing the Sheldred, you don't have to deal with Sheldred anymore. But they still have a 4 power guy on the table. You didn't accomplish as much as you would have liked, And I guess this is a sack engine that lets you draw a card too, but I'm just, and make a guy, I'd much rather sack one of my own dudes to this. But even then, I don't think it's that great. And by the way, guess what you got? A 1/3. I mean, maybe you get a 2/2, a mass token as well. But if this guy were like a 3/3, we'd be talking, but he's tiny, I'm going to give Azog a 4.2. I want him to be better. I really do. Works well with Mobilize? Yeah, that's true. A lot of things do. But this does. This, in fact, does. But it does. Bilbo's Deadly Slice is 3 mana, 1 and double black for an instant. Destroy target creature. 3.5. That's a normal Magic card right there. Crude Bent Blade is 3 mana, 2 and a black for an artifact equipment. When it enters, target opponent sacks a creature of their choice. So momentum breaker vibes. Equip creature gets +2/+1, equip 2. So I just like having this effect on multiple things, but obviously momentum breaker's 2 mana, it's a better card. I'll say 3.5 though again on something like this. I like that it's an equipment. There is a mono black equipment deck, We played that guy. We played that mono black equipment guy here on stream, and we went 5-0 with that guy. It was a real deck. Desolation, we had a good record with that deck. But anyway, Desolation Prowler is 3 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 wolf, pay 2 life. This creature gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Activate once a turn. We lost to Jeskai with that deck. It was a really good game though. Sorry. This is kind of fine too. I like this in mono black aggro, right? Especially with Cecil, you don't mind your life totals going down anyway, but this is a kind of black card that we had access to for a long time. A black aggro card that made you lose life, but your opponent's losing life faster, right? So you don't care that your life total's going down. This was the mono black aggro deck for a long time, and I like to see shades of it from time to time, so I like this card. I'm going to give it a 4.2. Seriously, it's not bad. Down to Goblin Town is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a Saga. Chapter 1, opponent reveals their hand. You get a non-land from it. They make them discard it. Chapter 2, Amass Goblins 1. Chapters 3 and 4, target opponent loses a life. You gain a life. So, coercion effect with upside. Body, a little bit of drain, whatever. But still not that impressive. 3.6. Dreaded Bat Cloud is 5 mana for a 4/2 bat with flying and death touch. It costs 3 less to cast if a creature died this turn. So, a 2 mana 4/2 flying death touch, that seems playable, but it's probably just not. I'm sorry. I'd play it in limited. I'll give this a 3.65. Front Porch Sentries is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 goblin soldier. When this creature dies, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 till end of turn. Festering Goblin, but double Festering Goblin's cost, but I guess it has double the P2 of Festering Goblin as well. So cute card for blocking and attacking and stuff and limited, but apart from that, not great. 3.1. Gathering of Darkness is 4 mana, 3 and a black for sorcery. Return up to 1 target creature card from your yard to your hand and amass Goblins 3. So like a Grave Digger effect for the same exact cost, but you get 3 power and toughness. And you get to cast a sorcery instead of a creature, which might matter for one reason or another. I kind of vibe with cards like this, but I don't think they're, quote, good. I'll give this a 3.8. Gnashing of Teeth is 3 mana, 1 and a double black for a sorcery. Choose one. A creature gets -5/-5 till end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it. Also, you could choose creatures target player controls get -1/-1 till end of turn. This was very close to my sleepers list. This was sitting there in my sleepers folder that I had to pare down to 10 cards in an honorable mention for a good long time, for like a whole 6 days, close to a week. This card was staring me in the face like, do we put this in the video? So if I had to tack an honorable mention onto the sleepers video, besides the ones I mentioned, it might be this. I think this is actually a fairly serviceable like sideboard removal piece, depending on what you're doing, right? Somebody just say better zombify on gathering. No, it returns to your hand, not to play. As far as gnashing of teeth goes, though, taking out indestructible guys, taking out 5/5s, like sure, and being able to blow up whole teams, depending on what you're playing against. I don't know, it could be good. The whole teams of otters. That's the thing. A lot of otters in standard. Think about that. And a number of other X1s that people are playing, deep cavern bats and stuff. So I think it's actually kind of a cute card, and I like it. I will give this a 4. It's not bad. Gollum Riddlemaster is awesome. This is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 3/1 legendary halfling horror. When it enters, choose odd or even. Whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana value of the chosen quality, choose one that has not been chosen ever. Put a +1/+1 counter on Gollum. Or each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life, or draw a card. So you can't keep choosing modes after you've chosen the last mode that you can choose, right? So you only ever get to do 3 things off this card. It can only ever trigger thrice unless you blink it or bounce it or whatever. That said, it can be bounced. I'll bring back up Boomerang Basics and, Nurturing Pixie and stuff like that. But I don't think you have to reset this card. I think if it does trigger 3 times in a game, it's phenomenal, dude. A 2 mana, 4 power in that case that drew you a card and, drained your opponent a little bit. Oh, this is great for 2 mana. This is the right value for that much mana. If you choose even, your opponent blows it up with a shoot the sheriff or something, and you get value. You get to draw the card. If you pick, odd, and your opponent has Requiting Hex, right, or Burst Lightning, which is what it will likely be a lot of the time. Against Izzet, setting this to odd, it triggers off of Sleight of Hand, it triggers off of Opt, it triggers off of Burst Lightning, it triggers off of several other cards they play, Storm Chaser's Talent, right? So it kind of goes wild against the Izzet decks, I'll give it that much. I really like this card a lot, and I think it might have things to do in Standard. I am going to give the value factor here like a 6.3. I really do think this is a fine card that we might see. Some sort of mono black aggro, or maybe the Tiny Bones Joins Up deck that wants you to play like legendary creatures. This is a phenomenal 2-drop. But I like a lot of the Golems in this set. Gollum's Silent Sleeker is my least favorite, but he's all right. 4 mana, 3 and a black for a 4/3 legendary halfling horror with menace, but he also has Meager Meal. I like this about the card. A single black mana for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and target player gains 2 life. So if you have something that triggers off of gaining life, this could be kind of okay, but probably still not really worth putting in your deck. So I'm going to give this a 3.5. Something like that. Gollum the Abandoned. I like this dude too, though. 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 legendary halfling horror. Cannot block. When he enters, exile up to 1 target card from an opponent's graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 life. Pay 2 mana and sack an artifact or a creature to return this guy from your yard to your hand at sorcery speed only. So that's a decent enters trigger in Standard right now. Like, is it not? You know what I mean? Like, we got Lessons in Standard, we got Deceit in Standard, we got Arden in Standard, we got a lot of stuff that uses the graveyard in Standard. Icetail Explorer wants to, replay fetches from the yard. You can remove fetches that they popped before their Explorer comes down. There's a lot of graveyard shenanigans going on in Standard. This dude, doesn't completely shut them down, but you can play the same Gollum twice in the same game, fairly reliably, I think, It doesn't even have to be like in an Aristocrats deck. Just sacrifice a random artifact token you got laying around. There's 1,000 ways to get those. And suddenly, not only can you mess with their graveyard, but 2 life. 2 life per turn, is per go. That's not bad in terms of reach. You play them on turn 2 and you're guaranteed to make them lose 2 life. You don't have to have removed a card from their yard, right? You can play this like a Vioshino Pyromancer. Just play it on turn 2 and hit them for 2 in the face. Whatever, that's fine. And then like later in the game, bring it back and hit him for 2 in the face again. Like your 2-drop dealing a guaranteed 4 damage throughout the game is not bad. So altogether, man, I kind of like this like more than I should. And I'm going to give this a 5.4. Like seriously. Yeah, 2 of them just loop, sack a golem for a golem for a golem for a golem. If you have enough mana, it's very mana intensive to loop them. But if you have enough mana, it's like 4 damage a turn cycle. That's really not bad. I think the card's good. Great Fierce Bee, one of my commander sleepers in the set. This is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 2/2 insect with flying. Whenever 1 or more other creatures die, scry 1. Note that does not say whenever 1 or more creatures you control die. That just says whenever 1 or more other creatures die, period. That anyone controls. Not non-token, blah, 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 blah. So you're just scrying like all day. You're scrying when Brian's creature kills Tyler's guy in combat. And then Melissa's turn, and Melissa attacks Tabitha, and they lose like 3 guys in combat, and you just scry 3. Like, I think this is pretty good in Commander from like a budget perspective. I really don't think it's bad. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to give this like a 4.4. I think it's cute. Literally, I think it's very cute art. Great ugly looking goblin is 6 mana, 5 and a black for a 4/4 Gobbo soldier. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter has menace. It also has Clap Snap, 2 mana for sorcery. Amass Goblins 2. Pretty unimpressive, 3.5. Head of the Hunt is 4 mana, 2 double black for a 4/3 wolf with flash. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. When you do, you get a 2/2 wolf. Bang! What an awesome guy. What an awesome dude this is, dude. Flash him in, too. Like, during a combat step, flash him in and either block with him and get a wolf because you killed one of your opponent guys. Or like, flash him in and then hit like a removal spell or something, get a 2/2. Like all your removal spells net you 2/2s and you get the exile clause, which is always great. I really like this guy. I trust this guy. To be all right. I'm going to give this guy a 6.3. I'm so sincere. I think this is a neat effect to have access to in Commander where you can flash it in and get a gang full of dudes all at one time if you play it right. That's not bad. Exile effect, very good. But again, in Standard, these effects are good. Exile's good. Get a 2/2. It probably nets you like 3 wolves a game. That's great. Seriously, it doesn't say non-token. I love it. I love it, man. I really like that guy. Inside information, baby. This is X and double black for a sorcery. Exile the top X cards of target opponent's library. You may play those cards this turn. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. So kind of a Villainous Wealth mixed with like a Bolus's Citadel style effect, right? They just kind of jammed them together. Really like the art on this card, by the way. Great Commander card. I think this is fantastic. I think it's probably too much to have to pay the life in Standard. We'll stick to like Outrageous Robbery if we want an effect like this. Probably a better card. But again, for Commander, I think this is probably going to be a card that shows up a good bit in a fair number of decks. So I'm going to give this a 6. Right at. And that's mostly Commander. Night Howl Pursuer is a black mana for a 1/1 wolf with menace with ferocious. Whenever this creature attacks while you have a dude power 4 or greater, this little guy gets +2/+2 to Leote. So a 1 mana 3/3 menace if you have a big guy. And there's like 2 ways in mono black alone to get a 4 or 5 power guy on turn 2. So actually have a small amount of faith that mono black aggro deck is real. Right? But this guy's more of a role-playing 1-drop in it than anything else. I'll give this a 4.5. But that's pretty high for this card, Rage into the Valley is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Draw a card, lose a life, amass goblins 2. So this is Phyrexian Rager. They even said Rage into the Valley because it's reminiscent of Phyrexian Rager. But again, another one of these cards that allows you to cast a sorcery instead of a creature. And some decks want that. There are decks that want like instants or sorceries that trigger other things because you cast a non-creature spell, but also put creatures on the table. They still need to do that. And I kind of like stuff like this for decks like that, but probably not in any way Standard playable, obviously. But Phyrexian Rager is a solid card, 3.7. Ravening Warg. This is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a 2/2 wolf with death touch and ferocious. Whenever this guy attacks while you have a 4-power dude, you gain 2 life. Not as good, 2.5. Reverent Howl is 3 mana, 2 and a black for an instant. Choose 1. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Or a creature gets +2/+2, gains lifelink till end of turn. I think this card is phenomenal. Seriously, I think this card is really good. This is Quick Study. In black, right? 3 mana, instant speed, draw 2. That's Quick Study. Good. Generally decent. But the combat trick. The combat trick could seriously blow people out, dude. Like, I was talking about blowing people through the shop windows earlier. I really think this has a chance of doing that. Just blow them into the street. The cars are going to have to watch out for them. Seriously, man. I think that +2/+2 and lifelink, just not too shabby. I mean, I don't think this goes in like Deceit Superior Spider-Man, but that's a deck that would like to draw cards. That's a deck that plays a lot at instant speed to a degree. That's a deck that wouldn't mind a 7-power life-linking Deceit getting in sometimes, or like blocking something and completely changing the complexion of the game. You can shift the pendulum massively with a big lifelink swing or a big lifelink block or whatever. So I really would not count this card out of competitive play. I think it's a fine card, dude. I really do. So I'm going to give this, like, if this is just a combat trick for 3 mana, it would be dog water. It'd be terrible. But the fact that it's, you know, like a Painful Truths effect at instant speed that just happens to have, you can sometimes play the combat trick mode, that's crazy to me. I'm going to give this card a 4.8. I really think this card is there. Rovanian Rampager, on the other hand, is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 3/2 wolf. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sack another creature. If you do, put a number of +1/+1 counters on this guy equal to the sacked guy's power. When this creature dies, amass goblins X, X being this guy's power. So it pays you back for all the creatures that it ate. My bad. Here's like 8 power all at one time. I've seen some people like this card. I am not the biggest fan of this guy. I think in Wolves, it's kind of interesting because it eats all your little wolf tokens. If you've got extra wolf tokens laying around, eat those guys. And then when it dies, it gives you like a 7/7. Sure. But I'm still not like that keyed into it, honestly. I'm just going to give this a 4.2. I don't like, coming down on board presence every turn. And I'm the aristocrats guy, but to really make this dude good, it's already hard to engineer a profitable attack. And, to engineer a profitable attack with this guy, you have to come down even more on board state. And I don't know, man. I don't know about it. Stir Up Trouble is a single black mana for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, sack an artifact, or sack a creature, or pay 4 mana. Destroy target creature. So another one of these effects. We see them in every set. I'll give it a 3.6. Stony Voice Goblins is 2 mana, 1 and a black for a Goblin Bard. It's a 1/1. When it enters, each opponent discards a card. So it's Burglar Rats, but a Goblin. Probably a better creature type, I guess, but still going to give it a 3.6. It's pretty normal. Supper for Spiders is 2 mana, 1 on a black for an instant. Put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards in your opponent's graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. They are food artifacts with 2 tap. Sack this artifact. You gain 3 life. So kind of, it goes in Egra decks in Commander, but not really sure what else it does. I've seen some people argue that this just goes in black decks in Commander, especially the ones that can sweep the board. Really good with Blood Money because you sweep the board, it gives you a bunch of treasure tokens and you do the thing. Although I think Blood Money gives you tap treasure tokens, but either way, if you have mana after the sweeper, this can be fantastic. But I still think it's kind of a trap, honestly. I'm going to give this card a 4. Just because, hey, it could, maybe it's all right. Works with the roll card. Yes, Stony Voice Goblins. Make him discard a card every turn. Hey, somebody else said that it's good with Burglar Rat. So I guess that's probably you. I said somebody else said that. That was probably you. The Master of Lake Town is 3 mana, 1 double black for a 3/2 legendary human advisor with Death Touch. Whenever a player loses life, that player mills that many cards. When the Master of Lake Town dies, draw a card for each graveyard with 7 or more cards in it. This is probably, I want to say it's the most interesting design in the set, but I'll pull back and say this is one of my favorite designs in the set. Zoom out a little bit, that's probably more correct. Really interesting design on here that I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's really cool. Is this listed in Wooburg order? Yes, which means we're about halfway through now. In any case, this I really like, but I don't know if it's good. There's a difference, right? It's good, maybe. Like it? Absolutely. I'm going to give this card a 5. Yeah, Yeah, sure. Had to think about it. Like, yeah, right out of 5, that sounds right. Player loses life, that player mills that many cards is crazy. You can pay life on purpose to mill yourself, which is probably the best way to use this card. And honestly, if somebody figures out how to do that correctly, this card could be like a 7 very easily. So be careful. But I do think a 3-mana 3/2 is not where you want to be in a lot of competitive environments. That said, the Sackville Baggins is probably my favorite creature in the black cards in the set. Maybe my favorite creature in the set. 2 mana, 1 in the black for a 2/2 legendary halfling citizen. When it enters, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, draw a card, create a treasure token. Whenever you sack a token, target opponent loses 1 life. Let me lay out a scenario. Last time we talked about this card, I laid out the greedy freebooter scenario, which is a pretty good one. But this time, I will lay out the Lakeside Lookout scenario. We just looked at that card in white. Remember the 1 mana 1/1 guy, when it dies, recruit. So I play that guy on turn 1. I attack with him on turn 2, get my damage in. And then I play the Sackville Bagginses. I sacrifice my Lakeside Lookout. How does this go? I draw a card, I discard a card, I get a 1/1 guy, and then I draw a card and create a treasure token. So I've drawn 2, pitched 1, made a guy, made a treasure, and played Sackville Baggins. And I still have the sack a token text on the card to look forward to. There are some unbelievable turn 2s that you can engineer in Standard with this card, and in Pioneer, and Modern for that matter. So I expect this to do some stuff. It can do wacky stuff with treasures, obviously. Maybe it's playable in Commander, although I think people probably don't like the target opponent text. They'd rather it be each opponent. But I still kind of like it there. That said, in competitive 1v1s that are relatively low powered, like Standard and Pioneer, I think this card is unbelievably easy to engineer crazy turn 2 plays with, and I love them so much. I'm going to give this a 7.3. I really like this card. And this is a card I don't want to be legendary. Me too. Me too, but alas. Balin, Lore Master, we're in red. We're going to take a sip, everybody, in just a second. Balin, Lore Master, or as someone tried to tell me, Balin. That can't be right. Balin, Lore Master, 5 mana, 3 double red for a 4/4 legendary dwarf bard with Storied. Whenever Balin or another dwarf you control enters, you may discard your hand. Draw X cards, X being the number of cards discarded this way. You do that no matter what. Whenever Balin or another dwarf you control enters. But if you have an enduring story, Balin deals X damage to each opponent. This is the commander from the main set that I most want to build around. And there are some really good build around commanders in the set, but this is the one that I think you can just end the game with like the most easily, right? I mean, you discard 5 cards, and then you draw 5 cards, deal 5 damage to the whole table. And look, since I drew 5 in my dwarf deck, it's very likely that I drew a dwarf, right? So I just play another dwarf, and this happens again. And then I deal 5 to the table and Lava Axe everyone's face. And then I draw into a dwarf, right? Because I drew 5 cards. It just seems like you can just bank treasure all game, and then draw into dwarf, play it, 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 and in the game. It sure seems super easy to do that. I don't know if you can do it in Standard, but I think in Commander it's pretty easy to just end the game. Maybe even the turn you played Balin. So I love this guy like a lot. And I want to do nasty stuff. I'm going to do nasty things to you, Sherman. That is a Nutty Professor reference. I'm going to do something nasty to you, Sherman. But anyway, this I will give like an objective like 5.5 to, but the dev score is like an 8. You know, the dev wants to play the card, scores like an 8. But really, it's like a 5.5. It's not that great, but it is a really fun commander, I'm sure. Bomber Gentle Dreamer is 3 mana in red for a 5/3 dwarf bard. It's legendary. Has story. Doesn't untap during your untap step unless you have an enduring story. That's not great. Is this Lovestruck Beast? Like the butterfly meme? I don't think it is. I'm going to give this like a 2.8. It's not good. Bothersome Noisemaker is 2 mana, 1 in a red for a 2/2 Gobbo Bard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, amass Goblins 8. Butterfly meme again. Is this Young Pyromancer? Like kind of. It's kind of Young Pyromancer, especially if you can sack the body in between each non-creature that you cast. It just is Young Pyromancer that's creating like a better creature type, right? So really neat, actually. I'm going to give this card a 5.7. Seriously. I'm going to give it a 5.7. I know a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy. But I think this is about as close to Young Pyromancer as I want it to be. Just excellent. I'm playing Goblin Bombardment anyway. I'm sacking the token in between every trigger anyway, so who cares? Burn, Tree and Fern is 4 mana, 3 and a red for a saga. Chapter 1 deals 6 to a creature an opponent controls. Chapter 2 destroys an artifact an opponent controls. And chapters 3 and 4 add a red mana. I want to like this so much. I want to like this card so bad, dude. Like, in Commander, it's ramp that also kills something and, cast Shatter. That's a 2-for-1 that ramps. That's crazy, but it's probably just way too slow. At the end of the day, it's probably not very good. So I'm going to give this a 3.7. Dying Ironfoot is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 1/4 legendary dwarf warrior. When Dying enters, create a colorless equipment artifact token named Axe. With equipped creature gets +1/+0, equipped 2. When you do, attach it to a creature you control. That's what you want. Whenever Dying attacks, each equipped attacking creature gains double strike until end of turn. That's in the Dwarves deck. That's at the very top of the Dwarves deck right there, baby. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure. So I think that last card's the best sorcery speed deal 6 in limited I've ever seen. And there's been a few. But yeah, this I believe is the top of your curve in the Dwarven Equipments deck and might actually make that deck okay, dude. Double strike is good. Double strike on 3 guys. It's pretty good. Especially if any of those equipments give trample. Double strike can be crazy. So I like him, man. I'm going to give this guy a 5.4 because I don't think the Dwarves deck is very good. But if it is, he's a key card in that deck, I think. Desert Wereworm is a card a lot of Commander players like. 6 mana, 4 double red for a 0/5 Dragon Worm that gets +2/+0 for each mountain you control. So probably want to play it in mono red. Whenever you attack with creatures total power 12 or greater for the first time each turn, untap all attacking creatures. After this phase, you get an additional combat phase. Stop me if you've heard this one. So if you have 6 mountains out, right, then this guy can fulfill his own condition, which is cute. But it ain't hard to have attack, 12 power or whatever. Like Anzrag the Quake Mole. That's a cute place for this card. Anzrag himself has 8 power, so you just need 2 mountains. This guy, Anzrag attack. You get a couple of attack phases, theoretically, a couple of attack phases. Same thing with Bruce Banner or Incredible Hulk, that guy. That gives you extra attack steps, and he has 1 million power. I think Hulk has 8 power as well. So goes in that deck fairly nicely, even though that deck's not mono red or anything. Just neat. Really, really cool guy here that I'm going to give a solid 5 to. I'm not going to go higher than that. But I am going to give a 5 to him and say this, Big Red in Standard. Okay? Can I just say Big Red in Standard? The dude does not have trample. But if you can engineer haste, if you can somehow engineer haste, Fire Crystal or a card like that, the Red Enduring card, that gives the creature haste every turn, doesn't it? And +2/+0 for that matter. So all you need is 5 mountains in the Enduring Red guy. And this guy comes into play, gets +2/+0, bang, that's 12 power, swing in, I win the game. I deal 24 damage with this guy, right? So Big Red, maybe Big Red, but 6 mana is a lot. 6 mana, I will admit that 6 mana is a lot. But I have more faith in this guy than I really ought to. Desolation of Smaug is 4 mana, 2 and double red for a sorcery that deals 3 damage to each non-dragon. Add 4 mana in any combination of colors. Spend it only on dragon spells. So that is not a bad sweep in Dragon Commander. Is it okay in Dragon Standard? You go Sarkhan or something on turn 2, and you can kind of ramp into this on the next turn, but it kills your Sarkhan, which I hate. That said, on turn 4, in a lot of Dragon decks, being able to blow up the board and also cast Smaug, and also cast Atsushi, and also cast Magmatic Hellkite. We got a lot of options. Atsushi's not in Standard, but we got a lot of options in Standard for 4 mana dragons. And I think this could be almost there. It could be very close to there. That said, there's a number of matchups where it just won't matter. It just matter against Jeskai. Does it matter against? Is it that much? Probably not. Although maybe you clear an otter or 2. But all things considered, I don't know if it's quite good enough for Standard. But we'll see. We'll see about it. It might be better than we think. I'm going to give this a 5.1. Mostly because it definitely has a home in Commander, and it's not a bad sweep. Dory, Bearer of Friends, is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 3/2 trample. When it enters, create a treasure token. This is a dwarf warrior. Somebody really challenged my number 10 sleeper pick for long-bodied dog yesterday. They're like, there's a bunch of creatures. Like, every set has a 3 mana creature that makes a treasure token. They never see play. Yeah, the long-bodied dog has flash. Long-bodied gray dog, that boy has flash. They never have flash. Instant speed ramp on a body. It's not bad. Also, it's my number 10 pick. I don't have all the faith in the world. Dory is one of the guys that guy's talking about. It's like a jewel thief. It's just normal speed, sorcery speed, 3 mana, 3 power guy, create a treasure token. This has trample. This will not show up in like the dwarf decks or anything like that. I hate to say, but it is okay ramp and limited. It's fine ramp and limited. Let's give this a 3.5. Pretty normal card, really. Dwarven Mauler is a single red mana for a 2/1 dwarf warrior. Equip abilities you activate that target this creature cost 2 less to activate. Next to the mono red Dying that we just looked at, this is probably the best card for the Dwarven equipment decks we've seen so far. And we've looked at all of red and most of white. So all of white and most of red. So this is a good card, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, seriously. Nova Hellkite, a dragon in standard. People still talking about the dragon sweeper. I think Nova Hellkite, you can warp in with it. That's true. You can do that. But it's 5 mana to cast Nova Hellkite. No, Nova Hellkite for real. So you need to do it on like turn 5. But either way, it'd still be good. Dwarven Mauler, on the other end, is like the one drop for the dwarf decks. Like, if you're going to build that deck, you are playing this as a 4 of, and it's not legendary. That's excellent news in that deck. So I'm going to give this guy a 4.9. He's like the best possible role player he could ever be, Gandalf Goblin's Bane is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 2/3 legendary avatar wizard. When you cast a non-creature spell, Gandalf gets +1/+1 till end of turn and deals damage to each opponent. He also has Flame Shape, 2 mana, 1 and a red for a sorcery. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, exile them face down. As long as they remain exiled, you can play them if you control a wizard. And only if you control a wizard. I want to be so much more excited about this. I'm going to say 5.3 and leave it at that. I think Flame Shape is an interesting way to do red impulse draw. Hate having to have a wizard. Hate that if I play this on turn 2, I have to then play Gandalf before I have access to the spells. And then, since I'm tapped out, I have to pray that Gandalf survives the turn, and I actually have my 2 cards. But boy, is my opponent incentivized to find a way to blow away Gandalf, and it's pretty easy to do that because he's just a 3 mana 2/3. I think this card, like standard, is actively hostile to a card like this, but I really like it. I like gutter snipe effects like this, right? I like the impulse draw effect. Really cool card. But I don't know that it's actually that playable in 1v1s. I'm so sorry. This is what VV should have been. Maybe. But I will give it just north of a 5. I will give it north of a 5. I think the card has things to do at some point in its life cycle. Gandalf Sparkstarter is 6 mana, 4 double red for a 4/3 legendary avatar wizard with reach. When he enters, he deals 3 damage divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. Cool ETB trigger, but, still is not really an impressive creature. 3.7. Getaway Barrel is 4 mana. This is a good example of a card that's ruined by a single word. This is 3 and a red for an artifact. When this artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, reveal the top 13 cards of your library. Put a random creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So you have to be playing 1 creature in your deck. That's the idea with Getaway Barrel. And you have to hit that creature. Let me throw that out there. You have to not whiff when you actually do sack your Getaway Barrel. Could be cute in like weapons manufacturing because that deck is sacking artifacts, but not a whole lot of decks that sack artifacts right now. And you have to have a free way of sacking Getaway Barrel to be able to do it on turn 3 or turn 2, turn 3 with ramp. So there are probably ways to get a free Valgavoth or like whatever you want on turn 3, but ooh boy, you have to find a way to sack the card for free. You have to play that card on turn 1 or 2, while also finding ways to ramp into barrel. It's just really hard to make it all work. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Ramp into it on 3. and then hit the guy, hit the creature. Easier said than done, but obviously I want to do stream things with this, but I think it's just stream things. I don't think this card is dangerous, but guess we'll have to wait and see, right? I'm going to give this a 4.3, but boy, will we see. Boy, will we see. Glowing the Mighty is 4 mana, 3 and a red for a 4/3 legendary dwarf warrior. At the beginning of your first main, add 2 red. Nice. It also has Easy Pickings. 3 mana for a sorcery. Easy Pickings deals 1 damage to each creature your opponents control. Sick. I kind of like this dude. You know, this was in my underrated picks when I talked to Power Dragon. Just spoilers for that list, but really like this dude. I think Hulking Raptor is the better version of this effect, especially considering Raptor has Ward and stuff, but you know, Raptor can't blow away like 2 dudes on your opponent's team. I really feel like if you can pick off 2 guys and get like real mana value on, or real card advantage off of this, it's not bad. And it might happen more often than you think. So I think Glowing's the one I'd look out for. Especially again, we talk like big red and standard. This is neat. It's neat if nothing else. So I'm gonna give Glowing a 5, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna give Glowing a 5. I'll do it. I like it. Goblin Town Flunkies is 2 mana for a 1/1 Goblin Soldier with haste when it enters Amass Goblins 1. This is not bad. It's really not. It's like a Resolute Reinforcements or something, but it has haste. That's a good dude. 4.75. Seriously. Gundabad Opportunist is 4 mana for a 4/2 Gobbo Rogue. When it enters, exile the top of your library. Till the end of your next turn, you can play the card. Solid but normal, 3.5. Iron Hills Stalwart is 5 mana for a 4/5 Dwarf Warrior with Reach and Trample. When it enters, attach an equipment you control to a guy you control, including him. You can just throw, a normal equipment onto him, and suddenly he's a giant Reach Trampler. That's pretty good. So, limited pre-release, playable. Look out for the guy. Goes well with most equipments. Play him, but not great. 3.2. Last Light of Durin's Day is horrible. This is 1 a red for an enchantment. Whenever a mountain you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. If it has 6 or more quest counters on it, sack it. If you do, search your hand or library for a dragon, put it onto the field. If you do, shuffle your library. Also has Mountain Cycling 2, which is the only saving grace of the card, but it's still not very good. Maybe if you can use some of those new blink cards that blink lands, right? You just play mountain, play this. And then the next turn, you play mountain, blink 2 mountains, and it gets a bunch of quest counters, but still, the absolute earliest you're getting your dragon is probably turn 4. And I mean the absolute earliest. It's just not good. I mean, like, maybe you play this in Dragons and Commander, and there's obviously several 5-color Dragons decks. They're all very popular. But they're not like mono red, right? Unless you're playing like Lathlis specifically. I don't know. I think this might be like maybe practically the worst card in the set. But when I say that about a card, it's guaranteed to be really good. You know? Yeah, this is Tybalt Planeswalker bad. 2 mana and 6 turns to get a big guy. Yeah, if you're doing it the slow way, but yeah, you do it with like multiple land drops and stuff like that. Do it with multiple land drops. That's how you're supposed to do it. But easier said than done, and it's not very good outside of mono red and blah blah blah. Just not a good card at all. I'm gonna slap this with a 1.5. I doubt a card will get a lower score than this. But again, that means it's going to be everywhere. You just wait. It's going to be great. But now that I said that, but I'm seriously going with a dreadful score on this. I reserve 1s and 1.5s for very bad cards, and I'm pretty sure this is that. So 1.5. Misty Mountains Raider is a 5 mana 4/4 Goblin Soldier. Whenever you attack, amass goblins too. Whenever you attack with anything, not just this guy. That's pretty decent limited. Seriously, 3.5. 3.6 even. Oyen the Brave is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 1/3 legendary dwarf warrior with storied. As long as you have an enduring story, Oyen gets +1/+0, has haste. Pay 1, tap it, discard a card, draw a card. So a lot of bad stuff about this. Seriously, the best it could ever be is a 2/3 that, it doesn't even loot. It rummages. A lot of 2 mana creatures in blue will just, you don't have to pay any mana. You just tap them, draw a card, discard a card. But no, this is not only the worst version of that, right? It's not draw a card, discard. It's discard, draw. Terrible. But it also costs mana. The one saving grace to this is that if I pay a mana and don't have a card to discard, do I get to draw a card? Do I get to draw a card? Do I have to have a card to discard? Does this, on an empty hand, does this just read one tap, draw card? I think it might, and that's okay, but the card itself is pretty bad. Yes, it reads that way. That's what I thought. That's fun, I guess, in limited, but it's still not good. 3.3. Like I say, I don't love this. I really don't. Pinecone Strike over here is 2 mana. What, discarding is part of the cost? So yeah, it's a cost. Okay, so it doesn't work. Stupid colon. Yeah, okay, it does. You do have to have the card to discard. That makes it way worse even. 3. Just a 3. It's really bad. Pinecone Strike is 2 mana, 1 and a red for an instant. Choose one or both. Pinecone Strike deals 3 damage to a creature. The creature would die this turn. Exile it instead. Or destroy an artifact token. Not quite a braid. Not quite a braid. Still fine as far as removal spells go. 3.6. Ragged Short Spear is 2 mana, 1 and a red for an equipment artifact. It equips for 3. When it enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. So we get like a Tormenting Voice effect, but it's on an equipment. Sure, whatever. 3.6. It's Tormenting Voice. Smaug's Fury is 2 mana, 1 and a red for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+0, gains reach and first strike till end of turn. An upgraded Sure Strike. But the upgrade is just reach, so it's not that great. Let's give this like a 2.6. Smaug the Great Calamity is 7 mana, 5 double red for a legendary dragon. It's a 5/5 flyer, but it also has Spew Flame on it. This is 5 mana for a sorcery that deals 5 damage to a creature. At pre-release, I would play at least 2 copies. I was going to say every copy. I'd play at least 2 copies of this, dude. At pre-release, this is a fat flyer that's stapled to a removal spell. Like, it's a removal spell, you play those. It's a giant flyer, you play those. It's good at pre-release. And it's common. But it's still not actually good. I'll give this a 3.5. Smaug the Magnificent, on the other hand, is a pretty good card. 4 mana for a 4/3 legendary dragon with flying and haste. Whenever it attacks, he deals damage equal to the number of treasures you control to any target. Not your opponent. Any target. One of their guys. That's crazy. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get a treasure token. Fantastic. Just pretty freaking fantastic. Yeah, the first Smaug the art goes hard. Yeah, Chris Cold. Thank Chris Cold. He did a great job on that first Smaug. Which isn't to say that Francisco did a bad job on this Smaug. It's a good Smaug too. But yeah, just a Commander All-Star till the end of days in red decks. But I think it could be a playable standard card too. I really do, man. A couple of turns with this. I mean, it's not Sheldred or anything, but a couple of turns with this, you're getting ramp and you're dealing an ever-increasing amount of damage, theoretically, to your opponent without even having to deal combat damage or anything. Just attack and deal 4 damage to your opponent because you have that much treasure. That's fine, dude. That's more than fine. And I can't wait to try to, like, Brass's Bounty into attack with Smaug line and just deal, like, 7 because I did that. But, yeah, again, just turn over turn value on a real threat. That has other ways of ending the game. Has haste, too. They really stacked him up. I think this could be standard playable. I'm going to give this card an 8. Solid 8. Goldspan's best friend? Yes, it is. A lot of that's Commander, but again, this one could be standard playable pretty easily, so right at an 8. Snow Slope Hunter is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 2/3 Gobbo Ranger. Sack another creature or artifact to exile the top card of your library. You can play it till the end of your next turn. Activate only during your turn, and only once each turn. I would have loved if this card did not say that. The first time I read this, I was like, oh, crap, dude, you're a free sack effect that also allows me to sack artifacts. That's kind of a card draw effect. Like, can we go, like, along with Morbid Opportunist or Midnight Reaper? Like, we're drawing extra cards and we're impulse drawing. Let's go, dude. But no, it's once a turn. It's once a turn, but I still can't help but kind of like this dude. A little bit. You compare him to like a Furious Rise, like a Phyrexian Arena effect in red. You get an extra card every turn, but you do have to sack stuff. That said, he goes like any deck with like Mayhem Devil. This guy's going to go really well in. So, I don't know. I kind of like him a little bit. I'm going to give him a 3.8. Stone Giant of High Pass is 7 mana for a 7/7 giant. When he enters or attacks, you get a 3/1 colorless wall artifact creature token with defender named Stone Boulder. You can pay 3 mana to sack an artifact and have this creature deal 4 damage to any target. This is a bomb in limited. A massive bomb in limited if you can get it in limited. I don't know if it's like Welcome Deck. I don't think so. But this is a pre-release one to look out for, baby. This is the kind of... I live for this card at pre-release. It's exactly this kind of thing. You get 10 power when it enters play. If you attack with it, you get another 3 power. And the power that it's creating are removal spells that can also go face. Like, I'm going to try this guy on stream one night. Seriously, I really like this dude. He just costs way too much mana. An unbelievable amount of mana. But, like, once you have a bunch of treasure tokens out or whatever, sack 2 artifacts in a turn to hit your opponent in the face for 8. Does that not sound decent? You know what I mean? It's not that bad. And yeah, this will close a game like super fast in limited. So seriously, you get it in pre-release. I think you prioritize it above a lot of other rares in the set. But man, do I like some of these effects that the card has. I really do. I'm going to give this a 4. I would love to go higher than that, but I think the card's just way too expensive. Misty Mountains Cold is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a saga. All 4 chapters say create a treasure token. Then if you control 4 or more treasures, sacrifice this saga. If you do, create a 6/6 red dragon creature token with flying. One of the most asked questions this preview season in my comments section was, wait a minute, if I have 4 treasure tokens when I play Misty Mountains Cold, if I have 3 when I play it, do I end up getting 4 dragons off of this? Like, no, to get the dragon, you have to sacrifice the saga. So you don't end up getting a million 6/6s. That would be awesome. But it is 3 mana to put 4 mana into play. Okay. Maybe a 6/6. Still really slow though. This is a 3.2. Thorin Mountain King is 4 mana, 3 and a red for a 3/4 legendary dwarf noble with trample. When it enters, attach any number of equipment you control to a creature you control. When 1 or more equipment become attached to a creature this way, that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. This is the actual top end in equipments, right? I'm pretty sure you play Thorin. If you're going to do dwarf equipments, you have 2 or 3 equipments on the table when you play Thorin. Throw them all on one guy, maybe Thorin, maybe give him haste. He's got trample haste, perhaps double strike. If you played Dine last turn, you're going crazy. And you blow up whatever you want. That ain't bad. Seriously, that ain't bad. This could be crazy with the hammer. Yeah, Colossus Hammer. You just kill, again, you kill whatever you want if you have a hammer on the table. I think this could go nuts in several formats. 4 mana is a lot. It really is. But set up correctly, you will have the best attack step you've ever had in your life. Like that turn, right? So I kind of like it. I'm going to give him a 5.6. That's higher than I really want to give him, but I give him a credit here because I think that this guy could just end the game the turn he played. Like, you play him fairly easily. Like, this guy looks like he's better than he reads to me. But Tidings of War is our last red card. A red mana for a sorcery, amass goblins 1. If the spell was cast from a yard, amass goblins 3 instead. Flash it back for 3 and a red. So echoes of the blue card that we looked at, right? Draw a card if you cast from a yard. Draw 2 instead. Flashback 4. Very similar in terms of vibe there. Again, I like cards like this. I like a cheap card that makes me a body. I can flash it back. It triggers my you cast an instant or sorcery effects. Goes really well in Aziza, Mage Tower Captain, whether that's standard brawl or commander. Just anytime you're building Aziza, I'd play this card for sure. I like it, but I can't like it that much. I'll give it a 3.9, but I do like it. Seriously. Oh, yeah, you're good if you can cast it from your yard, like with Tablet. That is really interesting, actually. If you hit this off Tablet, tap the Tablet to cast it for 1 mana, right? Because you milled it into your yard, you can cast it this turn. You cast from your yard, it's 1 mana for a 3/3 off Tablet. That's actually nasty. Good thinking, my friend. But we got to get to green. That's why I took my sip. Feels like I didn't get a good sip there, to be honest. We'll look at Addercop next. 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/1 spider with reach and death touch and landfall. Whenever you landfall, this guy gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Strictly better Thornweld Archers. 2 mana, 2/1 reach death touch. That's Thornweld Archers. I've always really liked that card. And this is just better because it can get to like a 4-power guy off a fetch land, and that ain't bad for 2 mana. Won't see standard play, but this is effectively green removal. Like, they can't attack into this guy without like an indestructible dude or a first strike guy. And I've always liked this. I've always liked this exact grouping of abilities. So I'll give it a 3.7 for limited purposes mostly. Bejeweled Warg is 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 3/2 wolf with trample. Whenever this guy deals combat damage to a player, choose 1, put a +1/+1 counter on a wolf you control, or create a treasure token. So many things I like about this. I know Frenzied Baloth is technically better in terms of stats and mana value and haste and blah, blah, blah. It's a 2-mana 3/2 with haste. It shuts down counters and stuff. Baloth is great, but this is a tip. You don't have to only play 1/2 drop in your aggressive green deck. So this goes in wolves pretty well because you get to put the counter on any wolf you control, not just him. But he does snowball nicely. If you're on the play, you get in on turn 3 with this guy. He becomes a 4-power creature, then a 5-power, 6-power. Becomes progressively harder to deal with and becomes a creature they have to deal with like fairly quickly. Good on a 2-drop. Also has trample. So even if he gets blocked up on and you deal 1 point of trample damage on turn 3, he dies. You still get a treasure token, right? You probably took out whatever blocked him, and you get the treasure. That's not bad. Like your 2-drop being a removal spell and ramping you 1, pretty good. That's not bad. So I kind of like this. I don't know if it's quite standard playable, but that's really painful to say because 10 years ago this would have been insane. I'm not sure it's, are we playing this or Badger Mole on turn 2, right? We're playing Badger Mole. Our green decks aren't this aggressive, but if we do want to build Stompy, this is a great 2-drop. Like along with Frenzied Baloth, our 2-drop package is crazy. So I can't help but like it. I'm going to give it a 6. I think it's good. Bjorn Reluctant Host is 5 mana, 4 and a green for a 5/5 legendary human bear shapeshifter with trample. He also has Till and Tend, 2 mana for a sorcery. You may play an additional land this turn. A little bit like Beanstalk Worm from one of our Throne of Eldraine sets. Not shabby and limited, but not too impressive either. 3.5. Pretty normal card. Bjorn's Hospitality is 2 mana for an enchantment with landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, +1/+1 counter on a guy you control. Pay 7 mana to have this become a bear creature in addition to its other types, and it gains this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. This effect does not end, so get yourself up probably 7/7 or so when you cash this in. And you don't even have to cash it in. It still has its landfall trigger on it. that's kind of cute. I like cards like this, but this is like the third one in recent memory that we've gotten, right? From Bristly Bill to Roiling Earth to Ride the Shoe Puff. I feel, again, there's a lot of these, right? Bill's the best. And then there's a massive ravine between like Bill and the next card like him. But I do think these effects are cool. So I'll give it a 4. Bjorn the Fierce is, Ride the Shoe Puff. Yeah, Ride the Shoe Puff. Bjorn the Fierce is 5 mana, 3 double green for a 6/6 legendary bear shapeshifter warrior with trample. Other bears you control get +2/+2. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a trample counter on up to 1 target creature you control. It becomes a bear in addition to its other types. Then, if you got 3 or more bears, draw 2 cards. Once a turn, draw 2 cards. Once you've established that you have 3 bears, that's not bad. This is neat. A 5 mana 6/6 trample is a pretty aggressive stat line in and of itself. And any other bears, and it makes you a bear every turn, right? Getting +2/+2 means that like the first turn this is in play, it's basically giving you 8 power worth of stats and extra trample. The next turn, it's giving you another, 2 power worth of stats, and eventually you're going to draw 2 cards every turn. So but by the time you're drawing 2 cards every turn, you're probably like winning more at that point. I think you've won the game. But is this better than Germination Practicum at 5 mana in green, right? Is this better than the Green O'Hare, which I think is also a fantastic card? 5 mana, not really a spot we see very often in green. Also slow in that you really get the most value out of this over multiple turns. But there's a chance, if in your bear deck or your changeling deck, right, there's a chance that this comes down turn 4, after a Mutavault changeling, comes down turn 4. And immediately puts a bunch of power into play and draws, 2 cards immediately, more or less. You move to attacks, draw 2. And that seems okay for just 5 mana. So I don't want to count this out entirely. I think it's a fine card that a lot of people are excited about in Commander for like bear decks, but there really could be something here. There could be. So I'm going to give this a 6.1. I think it's somewhere in that territory. Yeah, 3 bears, lol, yeah. This will win the game if you can get there. I think so too. That's why I'm rating it a little highly, is I think that this can run away with the game. It can make the game about itself. And if your opponent can't answer it, it just wins, right? So that's, that's good. Balside Wanderers is 6 mana for a 4/4 Elf Scout. When it enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Reveal a permanent from among them, put it into your hand. The rest go on the bottom in a random order. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this guy gets +2/+2 till end of turn. So a 4 mana potential 6/6 or 8/8 off a fetch land that just puts a guy in your hand. Like impulses for a guy. When you, for a common, I kind of like it in limited. You know, I'd play a couple of copies of this in limited. But I'm weird. When it comes to pre-release, I'll play like 4 6-drops in my deck. Like I do. There is no number of 6-drops that is too high for me to play in pre-release. Seriously. I'll play them all, baby. But I really do think this is a fantastic pre-release card. I'm going to give this a 3.65. Cantankerous Keepers is 6 mana for a 4/3 Elf Soldier. Affinity for Elves. When it enters, mill 4, put all Elf cards from among those milled cards into your hand. Excellent. Just an excellent Elf card for Commander specifically. Elf decks already play a couple of 3 mana options that look at the top 5, put all the Elves into your hand, the rest go on bottom or something like that. This is very reminiscent of those, but you get a body for 1 mana instead of 3. Like, triggers all your Elf stuff, gives you more life off Well-Wisher, gives you more mana off Priest. Just, yeah, dude, this is a great card in Elves, seriously. I'm going to give this card a 6. I don't want to give it any higher than that, but yeah, 1 mana, 4/3, draw 4. I mean, it's probably more likely like a 2 mana, 4 power, draw 2, but like, even in that situation, that's crazy. That's a crazy card. I really want to rate it higher than 6, but I'm not going to for right now. Dancing from Dark to Dawn is 5 mana, 3 double green for an enchantment. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put X +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, X being that creature spell's mana value. Also, landfalls. Whenever you landfall, you get a 2/2 bear. Pretty cool, but Commander coded more than anything. We have, Eumidian Hatchery and Chocobo Racetrack in Standard. Those don't see play. They're also 5 mana landfall, get a 2/2. So the passive ability on this is crazy. You know, the first ability, whenever you cast a creature, buff somebody else on the table up. That is actually very good. But it's too slow for Standard. That said, probably halfway decent in a number of Commander decks. You know what I mean? So, and the landfall trigger's fine too. So I am going to give this a 5.9, and it might be better than that. It may very well be better than that. Down in the Valley is a card I've been a little down on, honestly. 3 mana, 2 and a green for a Saga. Chapter 1, search your library for a basic, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle up. Chapter 2, Saga gains landfall. Whenever you landfall, get a 1/1 elf. And on chapters 3 and 4, elves you control get +1/+0, gain vigilance till EOT. So landfall trigger for a couple of turns. Free basic, sure, and then 2 anthems. And the anthems ain't bad. The anthems also grant vigilance, which is important in an elves deck because you can still tap them for mana and stuff that same turn. Not too shabby, but still a little bit too shabby for my tastes. I'm going to give this card a 4.5. I don't really have like that much faith in it. Night, Lily. See the rest of this on YouTube later. And thanks for being here. I appreciate you, Lily. Seriously. I will, by the way, I see a lot of people who like subbed and followed and stuff. I will get to them when I'm done with the speed run. I want to say all your names. Galleon, Elven King's Butler, is 4 mana. 2 and double green for a 4/4 legendary elf advisor. Whenever Galleon attacks, choose up to 1 other target creature you control. Its base PT become equal to Galleon's power and toughness until end of turn. So basically make another creature base PT 4/4 whenever this guy attacks. So turn your elf, your Lana Whirls into 4/4. Not great. It's okay and limited, I guess, but just okay. 3.5. Gigantic Big Bear. 7 mana for a 10/7 bear that can't be countered and has hexproof and haste. I will give this a 4.9, only because I want it to be a sideboardable card, but in a standard with Jeskai Revelation that can send this back to your hand while it's on the stack, with the Bilbo's whatever card that can send this back to your hand while it's on the stack, I don't think this performs its supposed function. I really don't think this card does what it's supposed to do in standard right now. If it did, it'd be a great sideboard piece against control. As it is, useless. So I'm just going to stick it with a 4.9. Guardian of the Halls. That's 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/2 elf soldier with trample. Pay 7 mana to put 3 +1/+1 counters on this guy. Not as embarrassing as it looks in limited, but still not a good card. 2.9. Little Bear is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a 3/2 bear with flash. When it enters, untap another target creature you control. If that creature's a bear, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Just getting food for the bear deck. I can't be mad about that. But what I can be mad about is that somehow a little bear is bigger than a grizzly bear. Right? Grizzly bear 2/2. This is a 3/2. This is also a cute combat trick. I'll just throw that out there. But still, for what it's worth, I can't give it more than a 3.3. Mirkwood Pathmaker is 3 mana, 2 and a green for a Star Elf Ranger, where its power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. So Dakin Blackblade costs half of what it used to cost, and it's not legendary, and it's easier to cast in terms of color requirements. Just really makes me sad for Dakin Blackblade, but it's still not that good of a card. That makes me even more sad for Dakin Blackblade. 3.7 for this. Nasty Little Rabbit is a single green mana for a 1/2 rabbit with Ferocious. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control a creature power 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. Kind of like a Nessian Hornbeetle. Any real ones out there remember Nessian Hornbeetle? 2 mana guy that gets a +1 play. It's the same thing. It's the same trigger, but he's 2 mana. People played that guy, right? However, I want to like this like so bad. I want to say there's several ways to get this getting counters on turn 2, and there are. And by the time it gets 3 power, you know, you only paid 1 mana for it. That's pretty good. I want to like this dude so badly, but I can't bring myself to really do it. But I will give him a 3.9. I think we're very close. Yeah, bunnies are a deck, right? Yeah. Yeah, Nessian Hornbeetle was a 2/2, yeah. This starts at 1 power, but it's half the mana as Hornbeetle. It's turn 1. It's crazy. And yeah, there is a Rabbits deck. So like maybe if you want another Rabbits 2-drop, it's not 1-drop. It's not as good as Paw Patch Recruit at all. But I think the only other Rabbit 1-drop is the White Rabbit that gets like plus something if you control a token. I guess not bad, but this guy is potentially better, just like Beauregard Mentor on 2, and before long, this dude will get huge. So, I don't know. I want to like it, but just 3.9. Old Fat Spider is our Colossal Dreadmaw of the set with no trample. 6 mana for a 6/7 spider with reach. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And whenever this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, draw a card. That's just fine. That's just fine. You know what I mean? I'm going to give it like a freaking, I don't know, like a 3.7, you know? It's not like super impressive, but we'll go for it. Ordinary Bear is a 4 mana 4/5. This is a pretty ordinary bear. 3. Not even, you know, like 2.6. Pardon Friendship is 5 mana for a 4 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, reveal cards from the top of your library till you reveal a creature card. If its mana value is less than or equal to the number of lands you control, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Its ability triggers once each turn, so that's reminiscent of the Spider. I can never remember this guy's name. There's like a 3 mana spider in green that basically does this. This will always put the card in your hand, but can sometimes put it onto the battlefield. It's kind of good, you know, in green commander decks that sack creatures. There are a bunch of those, especially recently. There's been more of them. I don't know. Golgari Sacrifice, sure, but kind of narrow, kind of expensive. I'm just going to give this card a 5, but like right at a 5, you know. Quarrel is 2 mana, 1 on a green for an instant. A creature you control deals damage equal to its power to a creature an opponent controls. What do you give Rabid Bite? That's a normal magic card, right? 3.5. Radagast of Roskabel is 4 mana, 2 and 2 green for a 2/5 legendary avatar wizard. The first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast and can be cast as though it had flash. That's really neat. It's neat. It's kind of like a Yeva, the same vibes as like a Yeva Nature's Herald. But it doesn't let you cast unlimited creatures with flash every turn. It's just one a turn. Still like it. Still kind of like it. I'm going to give this like... Can I give this a 5.1? Is that too high or too low? You know? I'm not really sure. 5.1, sure. I'm doing it. Anyway, where are we next? The Notary Hobbits. 5 mana, 3 double green for a 1/1 legendary halfling advisor. When the Notary Hobbits enter, if they're not a token, create 2 copies that are tokens that are copies of them, except the tokens aren't legendary. Tap to add a colorless for each halfling you control. So theoretically, if you control no other halflings, just the 3 copies of this, right, that you get when you play it, they tap for a total of 9 mana. They tap for 3 mana apiece. If you can engineer haste somehow, they pay you back 4 mana when you cast them. That's cool. It's just kind of a neat card. And I think like more expensive than you want it to be right now in terms of actual like pre-order pricing. Cool guy though. I don't know if it's playable in standard, but it goes really well with Badger Mole. You know what I mean? Like super well with Badger Mole. And you can play it on turn 3 very easily in Cub. So we'll see, but I kind of doubt that it's quite there. I really do. That said, I'm still going to give this a 5.5, and the only reason I'm giving it that high of a score is because it's friggin' Tron Hobbits. I cannot count out Tron Hobbits. Tron Hobbit seems all right. You know what I mean? Through the Forest Gate is 8 mana, 6 double green for a sorcery. Look at the top 20 cards of your library. Put any number of land cards from among them on the battlefield. Tap, shuffle up, gain 8 life. See somebody in chat saying useless set. Well, you don't play Commander, I guess. Maybe it's useless for you. Boy, I do think there's some... We probably talked about 3 cards that are playable in constructed environments. Right? The Bilbo Remand in white, that's definitely playable in constructed environments. The blue Bilbo, right? That lets you cast stuff for cheap as long as you're not casting it out of your hand. Lets you kind of snapcaster when it attacks. That's pretty good too. There's some decent constructed cards in the set. But Through the Forest Gate is a Commander card. If you play Commander, you might play this. The problem is you have to ramp to get to ramp. You know what I mean? When you got ramp in order to ramp. And I don't know how much I love that. But I know there's some Commander players like freaking out about this that I know in my personal life. So okay, I'll give it some credit. You know what I mean? I'm going to give this... I'm going to give this a 5. I cannot in any good conscience go any higher than that. But I will give it a 5. Troll Negotiations is the best kind of negotiations. 4 mana, 2 and double green for a sorcery. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature you control and then have it fight a creature an opponent controls. Better limited removal spell than it looks like. There's actually kind of a house in limited. It's like it'll do more work for you there than you'd think at pre-release. But ultimately not a very good card. 3. Wargling, 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/2 wolf with ferocious. Whenever this guy attacks while you control a creature power 4 or greater, till end of turn, this guy gets +1/+0. Creatures you control gain trample. I do like creatures you control gaining trample, but I'm not sure if it's quite good enough to like really go in the Wolves deck. You know what I mean? It's like, we'll see though. End of the day though, 3.5. I don't think it's that good. Warg Tactics, on the other hand, that's a good card. 2 mana, 1 and a green for an instant. Choose 1. Plummet, destroy a creature with flying. Or Snakeskin Veil. You know, better than a Snakeskin Veil. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. It gains not just Hexproof, but also Trample until end of turn. Chat, rate this card. Give it to me. I haven't asked you to rate a card since Blue. I'm pretty sure it's been since Blue that I've asked you to rate a card. Give it to me. How many cards from any sets you play in Standard? 3 to 5? Yeah, basically. I would say if 5 or 6 cards you play in Standard, you've made the impact you expect a Standard set to have. And most of them are going to be role players. You know, we're not talking about cards that like reshape Standard around them or anything. But just cards that make it into decks here and there. You know, 5, 6. And that's probably what we're looking at here, you know. All right, so for Warg Tactics, we got a 4, 5.3, 3.9, 4.8, 4, 5.75. Now, that's a common Pauper sideboard material. Yep, okay, we're getting there. 4, sideboard. 5.2. Fats McClure. Dude, I feel like I haven't said your name in forever. What's up, Fats McClure? It's a take it if you're in limited green all day long. Yeah, you take this card. Seriously, you take as many copies of this as you get at pre-release. Like I'd play 3 in the main. Seriously, all day, dude. Cheap Broken Wing, expensive Snakeskin. Yeah, basically. I think this card is really, really good, man. I'm probably not main decking this in Standard or anything, but like someone said, Pauper sideboard material, absolutely. And depending on what you're doing in Pauper, like some sort of Voltron thing, maybe even main deckable. Maybe. You'd probably rather play like Blossoming Defense. Snakeskin Veil. But again, it really depends on what you expect to come up against. Just really, you don't see Plummet on Snakeskin very often, so I'll give this card like a 4.9. I think we are getting super close with this guy. War Tactics is fun. Wilderland Scrounger is 5 mana in green for a 3/6 wolf with Ferocious. Whenever this guy attacks while you control a creature power 4 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on each guy you control. I like in Limited that once this guy gets a +1/+1 counter, he fulfills his own condition. That's kind of neat. Snowballs in Limited. Keep an eye out for him at Uncommon, but still not great. 3.6. Wood Elves is Wood Elves. You know what Wood Elves does? It's been around since like 98. This is 3 mana for a 1/1 Elf Scout. When it enters, search your library for a forest, put it on the battlefield, shuffle up. Oh my god, Fats McClure. Thank you for the 5-year gifted subs. Appreciate that, dude. We'll talk about who all got subs when we finish up the speedrun. Now, Wood Elves, note here that it two things. It just says forest. It doesn't say basic. So you can go get a Surveil land in standard. Those have the basic land, or the land types. You can go get a shock land, right? You can do that if you want to in standard. That's a forest. So that's cute that I can go get any forest. But also note that it doesn't say tapped. Anywhere, it doesn't say put it on the battlefield tapped. Anywhere on the card. Did I call Wood Elves a 2/2? It's a 1/1. It's always been a 1/1. But anyway, most cards like this, like a 3 mana body puts a land into play, they almost always say tapped. But this does not. So you can get an untapped shock off of this, which is very cute. Wood Elves, I will give an honorary 5 to. I'm going to call it an honorary 5. I think we can do that. But it is, yeah, card costs 2. This guy costs 2 mana. Basically. Wood Elves is always better than it looks. It is. So it might deserve the 5. It really might. But Woodland Weave Master is 2 mana. It's our last green card. 1 and a green for a 1/2 elf druid with vigilance. Whenever another elf you control enters, this guy gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Okay. You can also, here's the dangerous bit. Tap it to add X mana of any one color. X being this guy's power. Spend this mana only to cast elf spells and activate elf abilities. So, okay, you know, in elves, in like specifically Elf Ball and Commander, I think that this takes the place of Well-Wisher. I think that if you've had the same elves deck together for like 5 years, 10 years, you know what I mean? I think it's probably worth taking Well-Wisher out for this guy. I think he's good enough. I think he's good enough. We have seen recently, and in the past for that matter, a lot of these, you know, tap for mana equal to its power. They all cost 3 mana. They're all green creatures that cost 3. In this case, you get a 33% discount and vigilance, so you can like swing for a bunch of mana, or swing for a bunch of power, and still tap for mana. His power increases just by playing elves. So you don't have to do anything special, just like play elves. You know, that's pretty good too. So, pretty good commander playable elf here. I'm going to give this a 5.6. I'm serious. I think this is actually phenomenal there. And almost nowhere else. Almost nowhere else. Oh, Extreme Rex, thanks for the gift subs, dude. Thank you. That's a bunch, isn't it? Yeah, geez Louise. 10 gifted subs from Extreme Rex. Thank you, dude. But we are at the gold stuff. We're going to look at Bard King of Dale. Does this, hold on, let me move. Does this guy give anybody Spice 8 Rack vibes? This guy looks like Spice 8 Rack to me. Like a version, you know, Spice 8 Rack has looked like 8 different ways. This guy looks like Spice to me. 6 mana, 4, a white, and a blue for a 3/5 legendary human noble archer with reach and vigilance. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. That is Teferi's Ageless Insight. That's what that card is. If one or more tokens will be created under your control, twice that many of them tokens are created instead, son. So that is Anointed Procession. And that's crazy. This is a good commander. Not only is it a good commander, but just like 99s of Azorius stacks. So it just goes in forever. Even at 6 mana, this goes in the 99, kiddo. So I am forced to give Bard like a 7. Sorry, you know. It's not like that great. Never going to see standard play. But in Commander, dude, Azorius 99s until we're all long gone. Bant 99s till we're all dead. So yes, at least a 7. Bard's Company is 4 mana, 2 white, blue for a 2/3 human citizen. You can cast this spell as though it had flash if you control a human. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever this creature enters or attacks, recruit. I'm sorry. I think this is crazy. The more I think about it, the more I think that This isn't necessarily like better to have up than Settle the Wreckage. I'm not saying that. But again, you know, if you are the control mage, if you are the mage and you want your opponent to attack into you so you can settle them, what happens then if they don't attack? What happens then if they attack with one guy? Right? Well, Settle's not as good against one guy. You know, you want to hit like all your team. Right? So like Settle is great, but there are ways to play around Settle and there are ways to play around this. But my big point is, if you're the control mage and they don't attack you with enough Settle guys or attack you at all, you kind of held up mana for what feels like no reason. Like unless you have another thing to port that mana into, you just kind of held Settle up like an idiot and looked like an idiot for no reason. You just, oh, wow, okay, so you just cast creatures and didn't attack. So I held up mana for no reason. This, you don't do that with this, right? Okay, so your opponent doesn't attack you for fear of this or Settle or something like that. You still get a DOT. You still get a DOT. You throw it down with flash, EOT, because you have an Ang in play or something like that. And then you're making how much power? I mean, you're making at least 4 power when it comes into play. And then you immediately untap and move to attacks and make another 2 power with it. 4 mana instant speed, 3 bodies, 6 power. Like in the blink of an eye. I think this card is very good. Seriously, I really do. And I'm going to give it a 7, and this one all for standard. Basically all for, I think this card is standard playable. I really do. We already have the blue-white Ang deck too. So it slots. This could slot like pretty easily and just close the door like crazy. I think this is quite good. It enters or attacks as Titan vibes. Yeah, the Titans did that. And the Titans are, you know, like legendary Magic cards. Not literally. They don't have that type line, but they're you know, iconic. Anyway, Bard the Bowman is 3 mana, 1 white blue for a 1/3 legendary human artificer. Or artificer? That's an archer. Read with reach. And just understand what Bard is. Like Bard's an archer. Anyway, a 3 mana, 1/3 reach. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and it gains lifelink till end of turn. This is actually kind of neat. Not good, but neat. Again, I like these second card each turn cards. I tend to think these are neat. And I'm glad they're printing more of them. And like, you know, ones that are kind of normal. You know, a lot of these draw second card each turn cards are wild. You know, like Min, Wily Illusionist and stuff. This is just a normal card. I like that. I like a normal card. I'm going to give it a 4. Eagles Rescue is up next. This, I'm telling you, quick pre-release pro tip. Be looking out for this at pre-release. Like, seriously, I think this card is very good there. This is 4 mana, 2 double Azorius hybrids for an aura that enchants a creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, has flying as well. Pay this card's mana cost and return it from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to target creature you control with power 1 or less. Activate only as a sorcery. So there are a fair number of 1 power cards in the set, but there's also Recruit. There's also Amass, and the most popular Amass mode is Amass 1. Right. So there's a fair number of ways to get tokens that are 1 power in the set, a fair number of other cards that are naturally 1 power. And being able to always have a 3/3 flyer is dope at pre-release. I'm telling you. Opponent is incentivized to kill your large flyer. So just play this on a 3/3, you have a 5/5 flyer. They kill that guy, you'll still basically always have a 3/3 flyer so long as you can secure a 1/1. I think that is actually really good in the typical pre-release environment. I like this card there, but I'm just going to give it a 3.65. Sorry. Patient Instructor. This is 3 mana, 2, and then Azorius Hybrid for a 2/2 human citizen with vigilance. When it enters, recruit. That's kind of cool. 3.5. Bolg of the North is 5 mana, 3 black-red for a 5/5 legendary goblin soldier. When Bolg enters, you can sacrifice another creature. When you do, Bolg deals damage equal to that creature's power to another target creature. If excess damage was dealt this way, amass goblins X being the excess damage. Pretty not great. I mean, I guess in limited, it's a 5/5 that puts a body into play but costs you a body, but is also a removal spell. And I'm supposed to say that in limited, a 5/5 body that kills a guy could be pretty good, but I'm still not that inspired by it. 3.4. Bolg's Company is a black-red for a 2/2 goblin soldier. This guy has haste as long as we have another goblin, and we can tap it and sack a goblin to add a black and a red. My kind of boy. My kind of boy. Where's the party? My goodness. Do you think someone's going for pre-release? You're too late. The set's already out? No. Nuh-uh. Pre-release is like tomorrow. Bolg's Company. Anyway, this I like. This I think I like a good bit. Yeah, this set. Oh wait, was pre-release? No, yeah, the pre-release is the 7th. Why am I listening to people? This anyway. The 7th is tomorrow. But anyway, Goblin decks. Duh. And like obviously this can go pretty well with like Boggart Curse Crafter. In like an aristocrat's way, and I like aristocrat shenanigans that also make mana. Those are fantastic typically, so I really like this guy. Don't know if he's good, don't think he had to be rare, but really like this guy a lot. I'm gonna give him a 6.1, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I'm fitting to play him in Commander a lot. I'm fitting to play him in Commander a lot. A troll needs attention. Yeah, I see they're really taking up a lot of the chat. If there's a mod in chat right now, you can ban this person, and I wouldn't mind. But we're moving on to Fearsome Goblin Pair. This is 3 mana, 2 black-red hybrid. For a 1/1 Goblin Soldier, when it dies, amass Goblins 4. So, a 3 mana 1/1 that's actually a 3 mana 4/4. That's, that's a lot. That's so much for 3 mana, I don't know like what exactly you're saying in there, but I can see that you're sure chatting a lot. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. I can see you're chatting an awful lot. But and you were also, you're the one that said like the pre-release already happened and it didn't. But anyway, I think that a 3 mana 4/4 is okay, but having to work for it kind of sucks. And even if you do get a 3 mana 4/4, it's still, vanilla 4/4. It's not good. So much as I want to like this, I'm just going to give it a 3.5. It's kind of normal at the end of the day. Goblin Plate Mail is 1 and a black-red hybrid for an equipment that equips for 4. When it enters, amass Goblins 1 and then attach this guy to the amassed army. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has menace, or equipped for 4. Again, equipped for 4. Crazy, but at least you get a free equip when it comes into play. That said, it's a 2/1 menace for 2. It's not that impressive. 2.9, it's not good. Smaug Wicked Worm, this boy right here. How expensive? What do you cost? $10 on pre-release price, pre-sale. Huh? That's not bad, right? I mean, it's going to go down. So $10 is bad. $10 is bad, but but it'll go down. Smaug Wicked Worm is 5 mana, 3 black-red for a 5/5 legendary dragon with flying. When Smaug enters, create X tap treasure tokens, X being the number of artifacts your opponents control. Whenever you cast a spell, if mana from a treasure was spent to cast it, you draw a card and lose a life, kiddo. That's crazy. It seems to me that's pretty good. This is probably not standard playable. It's painful to say that with so many cards. Have hit a few cards I think are standard playable. But this, come on, man, like in Prosper or whatever, and I hate to be that guy like, oh, it's another tool for Prosper. It's what a toy for Prosper. But I guess it does go in that deck. It goes in Mahindi. It goes in a bunch of black-red treasure decks. But I mean, it's Dockside, right? Like, this is Dockside Extortionist, hella fixed. Like, it costs 2.5 times as much to play as Dockside. The treasures come into play tapped, unlike Dockside. But it's still Dockside Extortionist that can actually just end games. I do think this card is very good. So, 7.5. Whatever I gave the mono red Smaug, I should probably give this. I think they're about the same playing field. But I'll give it a 7.5. I think this card is very good in Commander, if nothing else. Great Goblin, everybody. Here we go. Favorite Commander of the set. Commander I must play from this set. Commander you will be forced to live through from this set. This is because I'm going to make a video eventually. 3 mana, 1/2 Rakdos hybrids for a 3/2 legendary Goblin Noble. Whenever you put 1 or more counters on a Goblin, Orc, or Army you control, the Great Goblin deals 2 damage to your target opponent. Whenever another Goblin, Orc, or Army you control dies, exile the top card of your library. You may play it till the end of your next turn. So you're telling me, again, I get a kind of Midnight Reaper effect, right? A Morbid Opportunist, but it's red impulse draw instead of straight up draw. But I still get the kind of red card draw effect whenever one of my guys dies. Because all my guys are Goblins, Orcs, or Armies. So I can play this in a kind of a mass deck. whether I'm making orc armies or goblin armies. I can play this in a kind of a mass deck. That's cool. I can play this in a goblin deck. Works really well in standard specifically, right? Because not only does it work with a mass from this set, but it works with blight. A lot of the goblins from Lorwyn Eclipse have blight and want to blight your own stuff, right? And so this works with all of them really well too. Just really cool. Really cool. The kind of cross-platform play there. But I want to build this in standard. I want to build this in commander. I think it's a really, really fun card. Works well with all kinds of stuff in commander, you know, like Murderous Redcap, right? A persist creature. That gets counters as well. Works really well with this. You know, anything with Undying works super well with this. Just crazy, crazy stuff. I cannot wait to play a lot of games of Magic with the Great Goblin. That said, I'm just going to give this a 5.8. Okay? Me wanting to play it as a commander does not make it a great Magic card, but I do think it's a fine Magic card. I think it's a pretty fine Magic card. Yeah, Empty the Warrens. That's an awful lot of goblins. They all die. You get to look at a bunch of cards. Like, sure. Pretty good. Chief Warg's Company is also pretty good. This is 3 mana, 1 black-green for a 5/3 wolf with trample. Creature cannot attack unless you control 2 or more other wolves. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So, you know, this will hopefully attack on turn 4. I'm hoping. Fats, thank you for the 5 more gifted subs. Jeez, thank you, dude. Y'all are helping out a lot tonight. I appreciate that. But a 3 mana 5/3 with a really good keyword, right? Trample. That's a fine keyword right there. That gives you a guy every turn. I mean, again, I'm not talking about Sheldred here. I'm not talking about Sheldred. We're talking about practice. but what I will say is that this is a cheapish creature that creates value just by sitting on the table turn over turn. Making 6 power over 3 turns. Being able to attack eventually, you know, it's a great investment. 3 mana for a 5 power trample is fantastic. And the whole time it's making guys. Your opponent is heavily incentivized to kill this guy somehow. Even if you can't attack with it, you might hang back and just make wolves. You know what I mean? So I like him. I like him in standard. I don't know if he's good enough. I really don't. But I want to try him in standard. As far as commander goes, is this the wolf commander now? Is this the one? Maybe. I don't know. It's not legendary. I think the Chief Warg is down here, but it probably isn't the Wolf Commander. Either way, really good card. Really fantastic card, in my opinion. I'm going to give this a 6 because Creature Factory. Also, you know, those same Golgari Sacrifice decks I was talking about earlier, they would love, effectively, a giant Ophiomancer, right? Like a dude that makes a creature for sack fodder every turn. That's why I say Ophiomancer. Very similar, right? So, yeah, I can see it. Duskwatch Hunter. Duskwatch Hunter is 3 mana, 2 and a Golgari hybrid. For a 3/1 wolf, can't be blocked by tokens. And when it enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. Decent limited common, because it attacks through amass tokens, it attacks through recruit tokens. Cool, you know. Not bad, but still just like a 3.2. The Large Bear. Large Bear. This is a 5 mana, 3 and then 2 Golgari hybrids for a 5/5 bear with reach, trample, and haste. You know what? I kind of like this. I don't think that it's standard playable, but we talking about a 5/5 trample haste though, for not like a crazy rate. I honestly like if I'm playing Cub, I have access to a million 5-mana plays starting on turn 3. Right? If I go Llanowar Elf into Cub on turn 3, the world is my oyster and several other kinds of seafood I enjoy eating. The world is my shrimp on turn 3. Of all the 5-mana plays I could make on turn 3 with Cub out, how bad is this? How bad is smacking face for 5 trample on turn 3? It's pretty good. It's like not that bad. This would ruin standard metas 10 years ago. Like it kind of honestly would. It reminds me of Blastoderm, like a cheap 5/5. Yeah. Blastoderm was awesome. It's like can't be targeted and stuff. That was a good card. I don't know, man. I want to give this like a 4.7. I kind of think this is sick. A little bit. But the Chief Warg is up next. This has to be your commander, I guess. 4 mana, 2 black-green for a 3/3 wolf with menace and ferocious. Whenever you attack while you control a creature power 4 or greater, draw a card, lose a life. Just solid value in commander, right? It's not like the best thing in the world, but I will draw a card every turn. Again, it's like a Phyrexian Arena on a body, you know, but it's not great. Just a 4 for this guy. He's not amazing. Tom, Bert, and William. If I have a second favorite commander from the set, it's this guy. 5 mana, these guys. 5 mana, 3 black, green for a 5/5 legendary troll. Pay 1 and sack another creature to draw cards equal to the sacked creature's power, and then discard a card. When Tom, Bert, and Willie die, if they're a creature, return them to the battlefield. They're an artifact now. So, reminiscent of the enduring cards. When they die, come back as a different card type. Not bad. But really, they're reminiscent of like Greater Good, right? This is a lot like Greater Good, just on a body that can be in your command zone. I'll take that too. We've been talking about Golgari Sacrifice. So I'm like, this is a great Golgari Sacrifice creature. Goes really well in Genova decks as well in the 99, or if Genova's in the 99 of this, it goes very well with Genova. Because you'll end up drawing like 50 cards. So that's not bad. There's a lot of stuff that this works with. I don't think, again, that this is worth it in standard. I think 5 mana is a lot. But I want to do all kinds of nasty stuff with it in Commander. So I'm going to give Tom, Bert, and Willie a 6.5. I really think it's that good. I really do. In Commander, I think it's that good. Bifur Melodic Rider is too much mana. This is 6 mana, 4 double Boros hybrids for a 4/5 legendary dwarf bard with Storied. When Bifur enters or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on a guy. As long as you have an Enduring Story, if an ability of a dwarf you control triggers, it triggers twice. So if you have an Enduring Story, you actually get 2 +1/+1 counters when he enters or attacks. That's cute. Meaning you can just make him like a 6/7, not doing the meme. The turn he comes into play. Really interesting, again, in Limited. I think that outside of that format, that was just way too expensive. So I'm going to give this a 4. Dian's Company is 2 mana, a red and a white for a 2/2 dwarf warrior. This creature has lifelink as long as you control another dwarf. When it enters, look at the top 4 of your library, reveal a dwarf or equipment, put it into your hand, the rest go on the bottom in a random order. So 2 mana for a guy that basically always draws a card and sometimes has lifelink. Solid role player, 5. Dwaylen Weapon Master is 2 mana, 1 and then a red-white hybrid for a 2/1 legendary dwarf warrior with First Strike. Whenever Dwaylen enters or attacks, put a hone counter on each equipment you control. Each hone counter on an equipment grants +1/+0 to the equipped creature. This is fine. This is fine as far as 2-drops go. I don't know how many 2-drops we're looking for the Dwarves deck, but, you know, there's a couple on screen right now. Like, I want to play Dian's Company, right? I probably want to play Thorin Oakenshield if I'm remembering the card correctly. But specifically for equipment decks, I don't hate this. What a ringing endorsement, but I don't hate it. I think that this could, if you have like 3 equipments out, you know, give you a fair amount of power added to the board the turn you play Dwaylen. Not a bad 4-drop, right? And for that reason, so maybe he's okay. I'm going to give him a... that's tough, actually. I'm going to give him a 4.8. I think he's as close as it gets. Nori, Teller of Tales, is 2 mana, 1 on a Boros hybrid for a 2/2 legendary dwarf bard. Whenever Nori attacks, target attacking creature gains First Strike until end of turn. As normal as the card gets right there, isn't it? Isn't that as normal as you want to be? 3.2. Thorin Oakenshield is 2 mana, Boros colors, for a 3/2 legendary dwarf noble with Trample and Storied. As long as you got an Enduring Story, artifacts and creatures you control have Ward 1. Is that pretty good? Is that okay? It's not too hard to get a story, right? And once you got a story, your dudes get much harder to target. 1 mana doesn't seem like much, but Ward 1 is a headache. Ward 1's a headache. You said, nah. Yeah, I'm really on the fence on this one. Ward 1 being the only thing this really does is not amazing, but a 3 mana, 3 power, or a 2 mana, 3 power trample. Stats are kind of there, you know. Play this on turn 3, you'll still have a mana up, and it's fairly easy to be storied by turn 3 as soon as you play this. 2 mana, 3 power trample, Ward 1, and all your other guys Ward 1, like sure. In equipment decks, this will cover everything, right? This will cover your dwarves and your artifacts. So I guess that makes some degree of difference. Again, it depends on what all 2-drops the dwarves deck has access to, but I could definitely see a 2 of Thorin, for sure. It's fine, nothing special. I tend to agree. I will give this I'll go 4.9 on this. Mirkwood Nurturer is 3 mana, 2 in the green-blue hybrid for a 3/2 elf ranger. When this enters, return up to 1 other target permanent you control to its owner's hand. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. We got a Simic Pixie over here. Not very impressive, right? 3.1. Sylvan Reveler is 4 mana, 2 green blue for a 3/2 elf citizen. When this enters, draw a card, discard a card. If you discard a land this way, put it from your graveyard onto the field tapped. Also has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you can pay 3 mana. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. If this returned to the table, I think we'd be talking. But it doesn't do that. It just returns to your hand. Fine limited creature here. I really think so. Make sure you always have a guy in your landfall deck. That's kind of cool. Decent ETB trigger that ramps you in, gets a card deeper into your deck. Just sure. Yeah, it's fine. 3.9. Thranduil's Company is all right. 2 a green, a blue for a 3/4 elf soldier. As long as you control another elf, you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Also has a landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature you control. Gains vigilance until end of turn. So if I go Llanowar Elves on 1, this on turn 3, immediately drop another land because I played it using a Llanowar Elves, right? And then I get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on the Llanowar Elf. Or on this, you know what I mean? Like immediately, the same turn. On turn 3, I get to boost the Llanowar Elves and play an extra land. I think this card's very powerful. Quite. If there's one thing that makes Simic Elves a deck, it's going to be this. Like, I really do think so. Card is hot. Card is hype. Card is serious. Good in Commander for what it's worth. But, you know, if I... Again, let's run this line by you one more time, and let's change the land. Let's say I go Elf on turn 1, turn 3, Thranduil's Company. Throw down fetch land immediately. And then whatever 2-drop elf I played, or it can be this, or it can be the Llanowar Elves. I got a lot of choice. You know, like I can play the fetch, pop the fetch, and put 4 plus. What is that? 3, 4. I put 7 power into play on turn 3, and an extra and ramp a land. This card is nasty. This card is nasty. I'm gonna seriously give this card a 7.3. No one will see it coming. This card is wild. I'm serious. The more I think about this card, the more I like it. Thranduil Sindarin's Liege is one of the best uncommon commanders in the whole set. 4 mana, 2, and then 2 Simic hybrids for a 2/3 legendary elf noble. Other elves you control get +1/+1. Landfall, whenever a land you control enters, you get a 1/1 elf. Okay. Also has Sylvan Rally, 3 mana, 1 and 2 Simic hybrids for a sorcery. Mill 4, put up to 2 land cards from among them into your hand. Again, if that was instant speed, I think we might be having a conversation, probably, but this does mill you 4. That's not bad. 2 cards in your hand. That's not bad. It's kind of a card advantage piece in a way. Shores up your next 2 land drops. Sure, get you guaranteed landfall triggers. Sure, all of that is fine. But I do think the card's a bit too expensive for the actual rate that you're getting. A 4 mana 2/3. Other elves you anthem. Not this guy, just other elves. 4 mana is a lot for an anthem. Those typically run 2 mana nowadays. So a 4 mana 2/3 anthem, we're already kind of off on the wrong foot. The landfall trigger is fine, but we have several, we have a 3 mana card that we got in the Marvel set that creates 1/1s when you landfall. It sees no play, and it lets you play lands out of your yard or whatever it is. That card's crazy. Hans Moleman, that card's really good. No one plays it. As much as I'd like this card to be awesome in its totality in Standard, I still don't think when you add it all up, you get a card that's worth playing there. But again, great uncommon commander. I'd play this in Pauper EDH like all day. I think it's fun there for sure. So I will give Thranduil, and I haven't rated you yet. I'm going to give you a 5, but that is all on Pauper commander playability. Thranduil, the Elven King, the best elf commander in the set. And I actually feel like there's a chance this is standard playable in some world. This is 5 mana, 2 black, green, blue for a 5/6 legendary elf noble that has all activated abilities of all elf cards in your graveyard. So let your imagination run wild. And whenever another legendary elf you control enters, draw 2, discard a card. So, oh my god. And it has to be legendary. But there are a lot of ways you can bounce or blink or whatever and play the same legendary elf over and over. There's a lot of legendary elves that cost 1 or 2 mana, very cheap to cast. Right? You can do intruder alarm tricks and draw your entire deck. There's a lot of ways to take advantage of that second ability. And it's also the ability that makes me think I want to try it in Standard. 5 mana, and you have to play more elves, and you have to enable it, have more cards in your hand. There are bad things about it in Standard, don't get me wrong. But that said, if I can somehow play a bunch of elves out of my yard, right? And then draw cards every time. Discard elves, play more elves out of my yard. There's ways to pull this off in standard right now. So I like it, but obviously this is a crazy Sultai Elves commander. We just saw Marlin in Lorwyn Eclipse, I think it was. Yeah, it was. And that was a crazy Elves commander too in Sultai, but this one's wild. Look at that first line. Look at that first line of text. So stupid. And it's in the same color as Conspiracy and Arcane Adaptation. There are several ways in these colors to make all creatures, every creature type, especially something like Adaptation. Adaptation, I think, makes all creatures in all zones, whatever creature type you want. So that'd be a fun way to do it. Tutor up your Arcane Adaptation, turn every creature in your deck into elves, and then go hog wild with this guy. That's cute. That's cute. So there's a lot of ways to build them. I'm going to give Thranduil a 7, but only just for Commander. Just for Commander. I think this is going to be the elf commander that people are going to be playing for a while now. But we are now on artifacts, which means we're very close. Incredibly close. So let's hit it. Let's look at the Arkenstone. Oh my God, Fats. Thanks for the 5 more subs. I have to go through and see who all these are for. Oh, Christmas got one. Christmas 666 got one. He needs one. He needs one for sure. Arkenstone is 5 mana for a legendary artifact. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Beginning of your end step, draw a card. It's just a bunch of generically good stuff. It also has Seek the Heart, though. A 3 mana sorcery speed adventure in white. Search your library for a legendary creature, reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle up. So we have a couple of effects like that. The Sienna, the card that can go get a snow permanent or a legendary card and put it in your hand. Right, there's that. I forget what it's called. So we kind of have this effect already. And doesn't always see play in Commander, but it's not stapled to an artifact that just does crazy stuff, right? It's just, again, generically good stuff on this artifact. I would love to draw an extra card every turn. So how good is this in Commander in white decks? I don't think every white deck has to play it, but I think it's a pretty decent card, Let's give Arkenstone. How do we feel about a 7.1? Right? I don't think this is a world ender. I really don't. But I do think it's an obviously fine card. Glamdring Foe Hammer is a 2. Costs 2 mana for this thing. Legendary equipment that equips for 2. Instant and sorcery spells you cast costs X less to cast, X being the equipped creature's power. Also has Gleam of Death, 4 mana in blue for a sorcery. Mill 6, then put all instant and sorcery cards from among them into your hand. All instant and sorcery cards from among them in your hand. In Standard, I feel like in Jeskai, this could probably put like 4 cards in your hand pretty easily. The question is, you got to put it on a creature, right? So you put it on an Otter. Do you put it on a Jeskai Revelation token, right? But that said, you cast a spell or two, your monk or your otters are prowessing. And now all your spells cost 3 less to cast. You can cast Jeskai Revelation for 4 mana. You're feeling good, but I don't think this is a one-of in Standard decks. I don't think so. But if it was played in Jeskai, it'd be a one-of all day. That said, there's another one I think is just unbeatable in Commander. Like, all of these are. all of these, like, they have a sorcery or something on them. But they're also artifacts. These are all really good in Commander. Like, crazy good. So, I think you just throw this on a Gutter Snipe. And now suddenly all your instants and sorceries cost 2 less to cast. That's nuts. That's saying you're just going crazy with the snipe. That's really good. Crazy with the Cheese Whiz. That's crazy. I'm going to say it again. That is crazy. Just a good card for that format. And I really could see some potential Standard setups, but I doubt it at the end of the day. I'm going to give Glamdring the same score I gave Arkenstone. This is a 7.1. This is a 7.1. My precious. Another card like this, and I think the last one in this cycle. This is 3 mana for a legendary equipment that you pay 2 to equip, but you also pay 2 life. Equipped creature has hexproof and cannot be blocked. Jeez. Also has Allure of Power for 2 mana. One of it's black. It's an instant speed adventure instead of the sorcery speed of the other 2 cards. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sack a creature, draw 2 cards. So, Village Rites, it costs twice as much, but Village Rites on one end. And then Swiftfoot Boots and can't be blocked or whatever. Like, God dang, dude. Like, I already basically put a copy of Boots in just about every commander deck I ever built. So if you're playing swamps in your deck, I feel like this just goes in. Like, no matter what. You know, like, even if I'm not playing Sacrifice, I'm sure I have a token or just a creature is going to get targeted with removal at some point in the game. Just fire this off and draw 2 cards for your trouble. Sure, but, like, later in the game, it's just Boots. It's just Boots and Rogue's Passage at the same time. That's insane, dude. Like, this card's crazy to me. It's so your Poison deck just got stronger. Yeah, in Poison, this is nuts. Like in Finn, you can't play it in Finn. But like in Serpent Society, this is, just goes so hard. Like, what a card, dude. So, as far as Commander playability, I think it's better than the other 2 things like this. And those are crazy in Commander too. So I'm going to give this a 7.5. I really think anything approaching Swiftfoot Boots plus unblockability plus Village Rites is just like, they wanted to make this card good. They did, baby. So this card's crazy. The Dwarven Medic is up next. This is 2 mana for an equipment that equips for 3, or, well, it equips for 3. You can equip it to dwarves for free when it enters. When it enters, attach it to a dwarf you control. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has Ward 1. So this is one of those where in dwarf decks, I think that like this is almost standard playable. We've got to find better equipment than this, but free equip +2/+2 Ward 1, free equip, it's, we are so close to there. So I'm going to give this a 3.8. Giant's Boulder is a single mana for an artifact. When it enters, scry 2. Pay 1, tap it to add a mana of any color. Fix your mana. Pay 7, tap it, sack it. Destroy target permanent. What a neat thing. That's kind of neat. But it's not good. 3.7. Key to the Side Door. This is cool too. 1 mana for an artifact. Pay 2, tap it. A creature can't be blocked this turn. Just Rogue's Passage, Key to the City type ability. Probably more reminiscent of Key to the City because it too is a key. Is that what keys do? That makes sense. Either way, you can also pay 1 and tap it, discard a legendary card with the same name as a legendary permanent you control and draw 2 cards. This was the key to all these UB sets. I mean, they keep printing like 1 billion legends in these sets, right? You're like, what am I supposed to do with all these legends? Well, apparently you just discard them, draw 2 now. And even if you can't do that, you can still make dudes unblockable. This is all right, man. This is super okay. Not amazing, but super okay. I'm going to seriously give this a 5. Just like, we are right at 5 territory. I'm serious. This is all right, dude. Long-bodied gray dog. That is a long-bodied dog right there, baby. This is 3 mana for a 2/2 dog with flash and reach. When it enters, you get a tap treasure. Look, I know. We've gotten a lot of 3 mana creatures that make treasure tokens. I'm aware. They don't usually see play, although me and a bunch of other people play Jewel Thief. Look, on the arena, you see Jewel Thief all the time, baby. Jewel Thief is a 3-mana, 3/3 trample created treasure token. It's crazy. It's a good guy. You played Treasure Thief, or Jewel Thief. You played that card. Now, this has flash. Do you understand? This has flash. Yeah, it's probably for draft. Agreed. It's colorless, like mana fixing for draft and ramp. But I'm telling you, man. Flash ramp. You just don't see it every day. You do not see that every day. I'm going to give Long-Bodied Gray Dog a 4. Old Thrush is 2 mana for a 1/2 bird with flying. When it enters, you gain 2 life. Search your library for a basic land, reveal it, shuffle, put the card on top. That's fine and limited. Again, like guarantee your 3rd land drop on a flyer. That's typically quite good. This is also fixing for what it's worth. I'm going to give this a 3.7. Orcrist Goblin Cleaver is 3 mana for a legendary equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has trample. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, choose a creature type. Create a treasure token for each creature you control of that type. And it equips for 3. So kind of a Reaver Cleaver in a lot of ways. And +2/+2 in trample is serious. That is Mad Max Furioso. Fury Road or whatever. This is not great in standard, obviously. It's like 6 mana to get it suited up. Probably 3 mana to put it on a dwarf, considering how many free equips there are in the set for dwarves. But still, not great there. This is obviously meant to be a commander card, and it is a banger in that environment. Any deck can play it. Even if you don't have like a dedicated creature type, you can still probably make 2 treasures off of this like fairly easily. But in the right deck, you're making a lot. You're making like 6 treasures or more off of this. That's pretty good. Compared to Reaver Cleaver, I think Reaver is probably the better card. It's still great. It's still a great card that I am going to give a 7.6 to. Because that's how good the card is in Commander. It just is that good. Now next, Sting Bilbo's Sword, a card I uniquely kind of don't like. 2 mana for an equipment. It's legendary too. Equips for 3 and has flash. When Sting enters, put a hone counter on Sting for each creature target opponent controls. Attach Sting to up to 1 target creature you control. Now, I'm not going to go like super into the weeds on why this card is probably bad. Right. You do get a free equip. You do. But what you get is a bunch of hone counters. Maybe. More on that in a second. If your opponent has a bunch of creatures, you get a bunch of hone counters. Sure. That's cool. Your opponent is probably also hurting you badly if they have enough creatures in play to put a bunch of home counters on this. You know what I mean? They're attacking you with like 5 guys. Like it's like you're getting burgers. And that's a lot. If you do attach this to something, yeah, you probably block up, but your guy will almost certainly die. Right? Your guy almost certainly dies. This does not provide any sort of toughness bonus whatsoever. So yeah, you flash it in, you put it on a guy. Maybe that guy trades in combat, but it is a trade, like 99 times out of 100. And finally, your opponent has to have like creatures. You know what I mean? Like if they have like 1 creature out, it's not very good. In Standard against, the Jeskai decks that only play 0 creatures. They literally play 0 creatures. Maybe 1 Thor. You see that sometimes. The Izzet decks that only really play Eddie Merc Crab as a creature. Sometimes 1 or 2 other guys, but the most of the game, they don't have creatures out. There's a lot of standard environments or standard matchups where this card literally doesn't do anything. When it literally puts nothing in terms of power and toughness onto the creature. Looks like it should be good, right? Flash, whatever. I think this card is uniquely bad, actually. And I'm willing to be wrong, but I do think there's a lot of gameplay situations where this card just isn't as good as you want it to be. So the more home counters it puts on itself, the more creatures your opponent has, the more likely you are losing. The fewer creatures your opponent has, the worse it is because it doesn't actually do anything. So I think the card's terrible. 2. Seriously, just a 2. The Black Arrow is 3 mana for a legendary equipment that equips for 1 and has flash. When it enters, it deals 1 damage to any target. If a dragon is dealt damage this way, destroy it. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has it a reach. So, like an orcish bowmasters, like a little bit. It's kind of cute, I guess. I think Sting is very good in Commander. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. If this gives you, a player has tokens, so a player has 7 creatures in play. +7/+0 is neat. That's pretty good, but I also think that won't happen like all the time. I think Sting is very good in Commander, probably in my deck, lol. Or the deck where I give my opponents a bunch of creatures. What's that guy like what's his name? Like Valrath's Raiders or some crap from Alliances? Like he comes into play and he gives your opponent 3 guys. Fantastic. If you're playing Sting. Or the hunted creatures, right? Like Hunted Dragon, I think, puts like 3 guys into play on one of your opponent's sides. So then just like play that and then play Sting. Profit. It works. Anyway, Black Arrow, that's what we're on. We're supposed to remind you of Orcish Bowmasters. Also tells the tale of Bard killing Smaug. Cool stuff. Kills dragons, sure. Kind of hate it. Varchild's Raiders, thank you. I was very close. So close. Ironically, the Black Arrow cannot kill Smaug. Can it not? Why not? Oh yeah, it doesn't kill the 7 mana Smaug in Commander. That one has Indestructible. That is very ironic, actually. Anyway, yeah, card's cute but not good. 3.3. Thror's Map. Oh, there are more cards after this. Thror's Map is 2 mana for a legendary artifact. When it enters, search your library for a basic, reveal it, goes into your hand, shuffle up. Pay 2, tap it, draw a card, discard a card. So kind of like a collector's vault. Doesn't make like treasure, right? But it does go get you a land drop. This could be worse. I'm not sure where you're playing it, but it could be worse. I'm going to give it a 3.9. Troop of Ponies. This is a Commander sleeper right here. 2 mana for a 2/1 horse. It's a hoss. Pay 2 mana, tap it, sack it. Search your library for 2 basics, reveal them, put one onto the battlefield tapped, the other into your hand, shuffle up. I keep seeing people online say like, strictly better Burnished Heart. It's better than Burnished Heart. Well, Burnished Heart puts both lands into play. This casts Cultivate, right? This casts Kodama's Reach. One goes into play, one goes into your hand. That's worse. But you do get a 1 mana discount both ways, right? You get for the casting cost and the activation cost. However, one more, like Burnished Heart doesn't tap. You can just like do it when it comes into play if you have 6 mana. This you have to tap. So the cards are different. One is obviously supposed to remind you of the other. But the point is, this is not a strictly better Burnished Heart. But it is still very reminiscent and maybe technically better, maybe practically better than Burnished Heart. A card that used to see a lot of Commander play doesn't really either anymore. In Standard, let me put it this way. In Standard, this does ramp you on 3, and it gets you 2 guaranteed land drops. Sure, I don't think it's playable, but I still want to point that out. In Commander, this probably, though, is just better than Heart. So I'm going to give this a 4.3 because that's probably about what I would give Burnished Heart. You know? Give or take. Not an artifact I like Heart. Yeah, not an artifact like Heart either. Yeah, that sometimes matters with Burnished Heart. I have played Burnished Heart in Commander decks specifically because it was an artifact. I've done that several times, actually. So, yeah. Good point. So, again, not strictly, but still probably on the level. So, I'll give it a 4.3. Well-Worn Spatula is a single mana for an equipment. Equipped for 1. When this equipment enters, you gain 2 life. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. So, just remember, next time you're in a fight, next time somebody comes at you with a short sword, just grab the closest broken wooden spatula. It's worth exactly the same PT bonus. You know? That horse is an Eldrazi, never mind. Yeah, look at its red eyes. look at the ominous clouds in the background. Yeah, the horse is an Eldrazi. Anyway. But yeah, this gives the exact same PT bonus as a short sword. It just seems weird to me. Card is cute, though. I'm going to give it a 3. And now we're at the basics. Oh my god, we're at the basics and the lands and stuff. We don't count basics. They all count as 5s. The Lonely Mountain is a land that taps. It's a mountain, by the way. Taps for red. Enters tapped unless you control an equipment. Pay 4 in a red and tap it to get a 2/2 red dwarf creature token. Costs 1 less to cast to activate for each equipment you control. Only activate at sorcery speed. So this has the distinguished quality of being bad and also going in a bunch of decks. I really think you get this down to 1 mana. It's still technically 2 mana because you're tapping the land too. 2 mana at sorcery speed to make a guy. Big whoop. The whoop is pretty big there. You know? Sarcastically large whoop. You know what I mean? It's Commander card. I don't know. It could be a dwarf card in Standard if the dwarf deck is a thing. It could be. Altogether, though, I'm just not that impressed by that. I'm really not. I've seen a lot of people saying it's great. I am not impressed. 4. Let's just go 5. Right? A mountain that can interplay untapped. That's, basic lands get a 5. This can too. Let's look at all of these as 1 card. These are the duels in the set that are common. They're going to be important for the draft environment because they're common duels. They all intertap. They all tap for 2 mana of their respective colors. I believe just the allied colors are in the set. Am I right? No, I'm wrong. I might be wrong, or I could be right. Either way, this is a 2 black and a red. Sacrifice this land and tap it. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a goblin or orc you control. Activate only as a sorcery. So that's the Rakdos one. The Azorius one puts counters on humans. The Golgari one puts targets on counters on bears, spiders, or wolves. That's neat. The Boros one is targets on counters on dwarves. And the Simic one is counters on elves. So obviously some of these put them on important creature types like elves or humans. And some of them put them on a large spread of creature types. like, bear, spider, wolf, goblin, orc. All decent though. I would actually consider, for instance, if I was playing like wolves in Commander or something, spiders in Commander, bears in Commander. Yeah. Why not? You know, like I played guild gates in my mana base before. I'll totally play this. I played towns in my mana base. I will absolutely play this. Same thing if I'm playing Rakdos Goblins, like sacrifice, you know, Wart the Raid Mother, something like that. Like, yeah, man, I play this land. Sure. Goblin-centric dueling. Sure, I'll do that. Elven Passage is a land where you tap it, pay a life, sack it, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, shuffle up. Behold an elf if you want to. If you do, untap that land. This land is very good. This is an incredibly good land. I keep seeing people badmouth this land online. It's insanely good. Like, it's standard playable, modern playable even. This is a fetch land. It only goes and gets basic, so you can't get like a shock or anything, but like, it's a Fabled Passage that you don't wait till turn 4 for. Fabled Passage is playable in Standard. Fabled Passage is playable in Commander. Fabled Passage has been playable in Pioneer and even Modern. I've seen Fabled Passage. I've seen it. What is this? Prismatic Vista? Right? It's Prismatic Vista. If you have an elf. Prismatic Vista's like, it was like $25? Is it for a reason? You know, how hard is it to have an elf, guys? Like, if you Lana War on turn 1, you have an untapped, like a fetch land that gets an untapped land on turn 1. Like, you know what I mean? On 1, because you're beholding the elf. I don't even have to have the elf in play. I can show you the Lana War elves I'm about to play on turn 1. You know, play this, sack it for a forest, play the Lana War elves I just showed you. This is crazy. That's crazy. It's a good. So many, any deck with forest in it in Standard has 4 Lana War elves, and sometimes they have more elves than just that. As a matter of fact, I think that now Badger Mole Cub decks are incentivized to play a 2-mana elf instead of playing like the 2-mana Gruul Spider or the 2-mana Bear that also has a 5-mana adventure, right? Like we see the Badger Mole Cub decks experiment with 2-drop rampers a lot. We should find an elf that ramps, right? on turn 2, so that we can just get our untapped fetch land, you know, more reliably. I think this card is fantastic. Like, this is the best land in the set. It's not even close. One of the best cards in the set. It's not even close. This is an 8.3. This is like an 8.3 easy peasy. Lemons, come on, dude. I don't know why everyone's radar is so busted. I see so many people like, dude, you have to pay a life for this. Oh yeah, fetch lands you have to pay a life for. Those have never been playable. Do you know? Do you play Magic, right? I feel like the whole community is trying to gaslight me, specifically me, into believing this card's bad. When I know for a fact this card's crazy good, dude. This is an 8.3 all day. Next is Hobbit Hole. This is the last card in the set. It's a land where you tap it, you sack it, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, tap, shuffle up, or you can halfling cycle it for 4 mana. Pay 4, discard it, search your library for a halfling, reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle up. So, this is just Terramorphic, right? It's just Evolving Wilds, but better. And we've seen those, right? Like Escape Tunnel is a card like that. So it's not like we haven't seen better versions of Terramorphic or Evolving Wilds. I think Escape Tunnel is still the better card. This is pretty narrow, right? But you can go get Changeling creatures if you want to. That's cool. If you do have a specific halfling you like maybe you're playing the halfling guys, the Tron halflings, right? You pay 5, you get 3 tokens or 3 copies of it. They all tap for like 3 mana apiece. Cool. Yeah, halfling and commander. Go get my delighted halfling and commander, like guaranteed for 4 mana. You know what I mean? Yeah, Notary Hobbits. That's the name of it. Go get Notary Hobbits. I don't know, man. And if there's a combo deck that cares about a specific Hobbit or 2, like sure. But as it is, just Evolving Wilds with upside, great. And also, for what it's worth, excellent art. Excellent art. Was it Shahab? Is that how you say it? Shahab as Alizadeh. I completely butchered that. But whoever they are, they can paint, baby. That is a beautiful card. And it's a great card to be the last card. Feels like we've been there and back again. We came home with just 2 small satchels of treasure on horseback. But really, it was the adventure. It was the experience points. That's what mattered, wasn't it? And now we're back to our Hobbit hole. We can have 3rd breakfast, 2nd dinner, fill a pipe, hang out with Gandalf and tell jokes and tales of our stories, of our times together. And then roll out a cot for the old man. You know what I mean? Just daughter off to sleep. It'll be real nice. Wake up, have a good breakfast of Eggos, and do it all over again. Pack the pipe, and then pack the pipe, and then pack the pipe. And then Gandalf will go up. Maybe he'll do some fireworks or something. And then we'll pack a pipe, and then he'll leave. But anyway, that's a speed run. Hit it time. What is it actually? Okay, we're 3 hours and 41 minutes on stream right now. And I started this at about 40 minutes in, didn't I? So we'll just call it about 3. I don't know what it's going to actually end up being. We'll see. I should have pressed record. See, now I have to download the entire stream. And then I have to cut this on Wondershare, Filmora, and edit it and export it. And it's going to be huge. Not only will I have this file on my computer, which is 6 gigs, but I'll also have the file I've cut on Wondershare and rendered, which will be another like 4 gigs. So 4.5. So we'll see if I even have space on my computer for that. We'll find out. But one way or the other, hit time. That's got to be the fastest one ever. Is it even midnight? Yeah, it's not even midnight yet, and we're finished. It's okay. We can do it again from the top. Yeah, we got enough time. I mean, Lorem Eclipse took what, like 4.5, 5 hours? This is a breeze, dude. I knew this has got to be this has got to be new personal best. It's got to be new PB, baby. New world record? Hit it? I think we did it, baby. Put it on SpeedRun, Speed Demo Archive. Speedrun.com. We nailed it, baby. Good speedrun tonight. Altogether a good set when you actually look at every card individually all at one time. I think the set is actually kind of more bangy than I thought. The set bangs kind of hard. She bangs like Ricky Martin said. You guys remember? That's like the best Ricky Martin song. Why didn't we hear the Cup of Life 1,000 times? It was just World Cup season. I didn't hear the Cup of Life a single time. You know that song. You just don't know you know it. Go, go, go. Ole, ole, ole. That's the Cup of Life. That's the Cup of Life. You know that song. Should have heard it 1,000 times. Why didn't we? Anyway, that's the video if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you support the channel. I put myself through these things for you and you alone every previous season. So check out the Patreon. $1 a month is all it takes. Patreon.com/SBMTG to support the channel. Keep me doing stupid crap like this until the end of time, or as long as magic lasts, which will probably be until the end of time. So check me out there, Holmes. You can also check out Twitch. That's where I'm doing this right now. It's twitch.tv/SBMTGdev. SBMTGdev is all lowercase. Apparently, I think that matters. Come over here, follow. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription in your house, you get 1 free Twitch sub a month. It would honor me and also line my pockets if you would consider me for that role, for your free Amazon subscription slot with your Prime membership. That would mean a lot to me. I need money. I got cats. Anyone with cats needs money. We all know this is true. But anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, that's all I got for now. I love you all very, very much. I'm about to say all the things. It's Fats again. Fats with another 5 gift subs. Dude, you're giving out like 50 tonight. Thank you. If you're on stream, you get to see me read off all these names. If not, I love you. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching all the way through. Let me know in the comment section how many bites it took. How many times you have to sit down and load this video up? Whether it was doing yard work, doing housework, doing the dishes, going to work as your job. That's your job as a security guard, where you get there at like 2 o'clock in the morning. You watch it till like 7 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's there. You just watch me. I'm sure there's 5 of you like that. Just let me know, how many different sittings did it take to finish this video? I'm glad that you made it through. I really do appreciate it. I am Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind out there.